Hello, everyone, and welcome to Final Fantasy Count Up Cast. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been live, since we talked about Final Fantasy X, but some of us were busy having fun. In fact, all of us were busy having fun over at TwitchCon. Some of us had to travel farther than others, and some of us got sick along the way. All I learned is that I have a long-lost brother and that he's here for the show today as well. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy XII and all of the above. Why are all of the summons airships? Why is this Star Wars? Why did this boss fight take so damn long? And when does Zodiac Age come out? Because I want to play that instead. But anyway, I'm one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy. Poverom, of course, joining me. Scott, tehMorag, and Slackaholicus, whose name might as well be Michael as well, because he's me. And I'm him, and we've
Disturbing. Do we want to talk about that to kick things off?
Yeah, I don't see why not. First of all, I was going to ask, because since we left on the last show on the note of we were all going to TwitchCon, how was your guys' TwitchCon? You guys' TwitchCons?
Use guys.
Use guys.
Your Italian's coming out.
Yeah, well, I got to keep it somehow.
It was a lot of fun. It was better than last year.
That's what I was going to say. It was
That's not that high of a bar to set, because the first TwitchCon was all just like...
The first TwitchCon was literally, hey, everybody, show up. You'll get to meet your favorite casters. The onus of the event was totally on the casters. Twitch was just like, I've got nothing to do with it. Sorry.
Even though they had everything to do with it.
Exactly. They were like, well, it's not our fault. He was supposed to show up.
Yeah.
This year, any highlights?
Meeting my long-lost twin.
Good to meet you, too.
Disturbingly.
Yeah, so what we learned about Slack and Morag, I think Morag never got to see us both standing next to each other. He only got to see the pictures and hear the stories.
Yeah.
But we learned that Slack and I are the same height before being shaved. We have about the same beard length. We're probably about the same weight, same body type. Our birthdays are 2 days apart.
Kind of build.
Our birthdays being 2 days apart was probably the biggest surprise, and we didn't find that out until after.
That's what caught me off guard, because we learned about this after the fact.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that Happy's name, Mr. Happy 12227, was his birthday. I didn't know it was December 27th.
You thought I was just an idiot and I couldn't spell leet.
I thought it was like a little play on leet. And so then someone in my chat was like, oh, his birthday's coming up in December. And I was like, what day? No.
What day? Yeah, we're both cute. We're both very attractive gentlemen. That's another very important, probably the most important point. And we got a picture together, and it's in. If he didn't have his hair like back a little bit, like
if I brushed mine forward,
if he brushed his forward, yeah, we'd be the same person.
Would have looked the same.
And then Morag would have to play dad in the middle of friggin' Count Up Cast and like keep us in line when we have brotherly squabbles.
You damn kids, knock it off.
Who says that? Brotherly squabbles? What? I know, but why? I don't understand why I did that. Nope.
I got nothing on that one.
Nothing.
I'm so dead inside because of TwitchCon because I am sick and it sucks.
Yeah, I got out unscathed. My personal
when
highlight.
Did you get sick, Scott? Like, when did it start for you?
Monday.
Okay, so you got there kind of late, yeah. Mine, for me, it was starting before then. I'm finally on the road to recovery. Like, I feel like, I'm gonna be okay eventually.
Yeah.
I still feel like living death, but I'm getting there.
Well, it doesn't count either. Well, I guess it kind of does. But the weekend before, I was out for the count for 2 days with what I wanted to say was the flu.
Oh yeah, that definitely doesn't help. Your immune system's already shot after that.
Yeah. No, it was bad. So
yeah.
just a week, 2 weeks of sick. That's all. I've been powering through though.
You know what my highlight was of TwitchCon? Other than like everyone says the obvious thing, I got to see all my viewers. That was fantastic. Yeah, I got to play some games. Cool. We knew we were gonna do that, right? Like that's. That was pepperoni
expected.
pretzels,
it's
man.
when you get surprised by something.
Yeah, I was surprised by pepperoni pretzels. Is what I was surprised
Those
by.
pretzels were so good.
Were they sold in the venue?
Yeah.
I never got any of the food there. I knew
that was the only food that was there was pepperoni pretzels.
Well, there was some outside, but inside though.
Yeah.
Those pretzels.
Yeah, those pepperoni pretzels were a lifesaver.
With the cheese sauce.
Oh yeah.
That I swear was like 90%.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, it's
I can't
so
handle
good.
this food talk.
Yeah, neither can I.
Some of the other good stuff that was there. The indie corner was fantastic. Just Shapes and Beats. Viking Squad.
Viking Squad is out too.
Yep. I need to get around to playing that. I haven't allowed myself to do much since I got back.
I got a copy. Let's go. Online game.
Nidhogg 2 visually looks weird as hell this time around. Gameplay wise, it looks good.
I swear they took like the snake at the end of the first one. They're like, let's make an art style around this entire snake.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Snakes are cool, man.
Snakes are cool. I got to admit that.
I don't know the Nidhogg snake though.
Y2K looks pretty cool. I haven't gotten a chance to play it, but I've seen it at 2 different cons now. Seems like it has some nice potential for it.
Yeah.
What else was around that booth? Masquerade, Dragon Age-esque sort of game, and a couple others around there. And then Happy, I know you'll be very excited about this one, Shardbound.
Yeah, I streamed Shardbound pretty impromptu from the convention. So thank God they had a spot open for me for that one. That's great. I can't wait to see that because it's like Duelist played out on a 3D field.
No.
So I'm cool with that. But anyway, the people are here for Final Fantasy 12, gentlemen. So yeah, they're not here for us. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
They don't care
It's
about
like
our
we
experiences.
we skipped an MMO for another MMO. It makes sense.
Yeah, this is a single player MMO. That's a great way to describe. That's pretty much how everyone in my chat describes Final Fantasy 12. It's a single player MMO.
Yeah.
Less so in Zodiac Edition because you're able to like you're able to modify it with like the speed ups and stuff like that. But in some ways, it's also more like an MMO with the job roles and everything like that. So we have a lot to talk about Final Fantasy 12. First of all, the versions that we all played, obviously the PlayStation 2 version.
PlayStation 2.
But I know Slack played Zodiac Edition.
Essentially, what is going to be the Zodiac Age edition when it comes out. I played a fan-patched version of the International Zodiac Job System version, which only came out international, but it only came out in Japan, and I want to say it came out in like one other country, like Russia or something weird like that.
Useful.
And
Oh,
that's
those are
it,
two
yeah.
nations, so it's international.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I played that version with fan patch so that it was mostly in English, and it's by far the better version.
And then Morag, you and I both played OG, right?
Yep. No,
Okay.
it turned out a lot better than expected. Like visually and whatnot. I found that 4x3 is way nicer than 16:9 though.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way. It compresses a lot of the pixels, so
Yeah.
it doesn't look pixelated. But then at the same time, it's like, why is it so small?
Well, I ended up going through. I ended up taking pictures of both widescreen and normal on both the widescreen and the normal PS3 as well too. And yeah, no, the 16:9 just zooms it in. So you end
Yeah.
up losing information. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're just gonna stick with
Really,
4x3.
I didn't lose any information on mine. It was
You-
just it looked
you
ugly.
You get cropped top and bottoms.
I didn't have a crop top and bottom. That's
You should
weird.
go double check. Go take like 4 individual screenshots and compare it against each other.
Yeah, I didn't run into. No, I remember pretty explicitly not having any issue. I don't know. I guess I will have to double check. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Final Fantasy 12. It's another one, kind of like 10, where some people really like it. Some people it's their favorite, and then some people it's the butt of all jokes. And I know that I had a lot of jokes. I still have a lot of jokes, and I plan to use a lot of jokes in this episode. So first, we're going to talk about the story.
Now, all right, so this is your first joke.
So it's great that they decided to have 4 main characters in the game. It's not too many, not too little.
A full running gag the entire game, by the way. Right up to the very last cutscene.
Right up to the
It is so interesting. The next time you guys play through the game, I don't know if you did on this playthrough, but the next time you play through it, if you're going to do a Zodiac Age playthrough, and that
skip
drops,
every cutscene with Vaughn.
not even that. Pay attention to the cutscenes and just imagine through the whole cutscene. Watch it and say, "What if Vaughn and Pinello weren't there? What if I removed their lines? What if I removed their models? Because they add nothing to any of the scenes except for the ones where it's just them at the beginning of the game."
And that's kind of what I want to talk about with them too, because I forgot how their character development actually starts out fine. Like
yeah.
they explain, you already know why Vaughn is in the center because of the scene before with his brother. Pinello's one of his friends, and that's not abnormal for friends to end up getting into these kind of adventures together. You find out they're both doing work within the city. They're both rebels against the Empire. All things that are reasonable, and why they end up in the situation in the first place. But as soon as the other 4 characters are introduced, they're just like, well, I'm a pirate now. And then there's a scene where I think Ash literally tells Vaughn to shut up, and I'm like, wow, that epitomizes the whole story. She's like, why are you even here? I'm like,
Yeah, she says something like that. I don't remember where it is, but there is a line very close to that.
it's like, why are you even speaking?
Because I mean, there are two really, really bad scenes that I've been into so far. Actually, there's three, but I can't remember what the third was. But there's the scene where they're leaving the Ironwood, I think is the name of the place, for the first time. Fran's village, where Olivier live. And as they're walking out, Vaughn's contribution to the scene, everybody else has been having this discussion about what to do next and all this. Vaughn's his contribution is, hey, Fran, how old are you?
Yeah.
And the entire rest of the crew just looks at him like, you are the worst character of all time.
But he got used in Dissidia, so he's the main character.
Come on, I thought that scene was pretty interesting, but
I thought it was interesting too.
I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna say that Van was I was the target audience for Van because I liked Van. I liked
What do you
him.
like about him?
I liked him because he showed someone that number one was confused, but yet he wanted to find a reason to like kind of do the shit because we don't know exactly what his lifestyles or what he was doing, his job, anything before actually getting him introduced. Like, just didn't know it at all. And then he's just like, yeah, I'm just happy-go-lucky. He reminded me actually a little bit of like Aladdin, to be honest, at some points.
At least Aladdin has real abs.
Okay.
They both got that same vest, but only one of them's got the real
Besides the fact that all of his abs are painted on, and I'm dying. As he goes through the game, he ends up taking away from I call him Baller because I hate his actual name, he ends up becoming what Baller actually is, and then Baller's like, oh shit, I'm losing my own mind, and then he ends up kind of gaining it again near the end of it. He was there to go and show Baller's kind of like downfalls to himself at the same time. This is what I felt it was. But at the same time, Van was able to grow as a character straight to the end too, through like, but I do agree with you. Every scene that he was in after all the other characters were introduced, completely useless because there was almost zero character development.
Yeah, that's the problem with him after that point.
Information, like just little lines here and there. Like not Bash.
Bosch von Ronsenberg of Dalmasca. That's by the way, I can't say his name without saying the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
He starts off the game. It's like, okay, this is a fine character introduction, and then he just starts tagging along because he wants to be a sky pirate. I almost said space pirate. Star Wars.
That would have been Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's honestly the story is Star Wars.
Yeah. So he tags along because it's like, oh, I want to be a sky pirate, and Balthier's a sky pirate, so I'm going to follow him around. And that was the end of his character for the rest of the game.
You know what I love?
What sucks.
I love when Balthier is like, I'm going to trust you to drive this, and he's like, just go over everything we went over. And I was like, when did we go over anything about how to fly this thing? And all of a sudden, he's a master at it. Yeah, the story for Final Fantasy 12, outside of Vaughn, it's really hit or miss. I mean,
there's a lot of problems with it. To kind of close out the subject of Vaughn, I've always wondered if the game was originally supposed to go back to the 4-party system or the 4-person party system.
And then they just added in Vaughn.
And then they added in Vaughn and Penello, and they were like, well, we want to have it sort of balanced. So since we have 6 characters, let's rebalance the game kind of around a 3-person party.
Yeah.
And like, I think the game would have been really cool with a 4-person party.
I mean, they give you the guest party member as a 4th party member constantly throughout it, and then in your edition, you actually get to level them and give them gambits and everything.
Yeah,
so
you get to modify their gambits, which is really nice.
But you don't get unlimited potions then.
Yeah, you don't get unlimited potions. Lars is not your potion machine.
Unlimited X potions is pretty damn hot.
It's really OP. Like, in the original version, they buffed them up by giving him access to stuff like that.
It was great? By the time I got Redis later, he was level 84.
Jesus.
Redis was level 84?
My Redis was level 84.
I'm right before the point where he joins up, I think.
It's an average level thing.
Yeah.
So.
I think mine was like maybe level 4.
You have to remember, though, I left my game on overnight to power level.
You did an AFK farm.
I did do an AFK farm.
I opted not to do it.
I did it in Hen Mines instead of doing it on the rare spawn in whatever the place was called. I can't even remember. It was like a rare spawn that constantly summoned skeletons every like 5 seconds. There's a way to power. There used to be a way to power level like that in World of Warcraft, but that's a story for another time. I remember discovering that one. So anyway, this story, it does. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it doesn't really feel very Final Fantasy-esque.
It doesn't feel like a story. I feel like
No, it really isn't a story.
I've actually
It's a
just gotten
series
up
of
to the
events.
part where it picks up.
It's
And
pretty much
even
looks
then,
forever.
it doesn't pick up very well.
Yeah.
I just beat up Sid. Sid's run off to Guravagan.
Oh yeah, you're at the story part.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
exactly. I'm at the part where there's actual story happening, finally. Before then, it's a lot of, hey, Nethicite, sword, prisoner, political stuff off happening somewhere else. More Nethicite, and that's all. That's all that you get for the first 30 hours of the game. And the reason that it takes that long to get that far is because the biggest issue of the game's storytelling is that there is so much side content between the plot. You'll get the plot occurrence, and then it's like, well, there's 15 new hunts that you want to go do, so let's go take care of those. And then by the time you get back around to the story, you have no attachment to what just happened. There's no like urgency. So you just
the
lose
scenes
all
towards the end of the
connection
game
with
get
what's
pretty
happening.
interesting. I mean, if
towards the
you
end.
do remember, if you don't get that feeling of disjointment,
Remember. Yeah.
then if you just leave all the hunts till the end of the game, which don't, because just don't.
Yeah.
There's so many
It's a
good
bad idea.
rewards. I remember making it especially an effort to kill Ant Lion as early as possible so I could get the full Mohawk
Yeah.
from the chest behind him. I did get my Zodiac Spear, by the way.
That Zodiac
Yeah,
Spear
both of
run
you
was
did.
fun, man.
Oh my god, I didn't realize how, because I didn't get the Zodiac Spear when I played the original version, because I'm a kid, I played the game, I was opening every chest I found, and by the time I found out a Zodiac Spear existed, I found out that one of the two ways to get it, I had already fucked up, so I started trying to do it in the Hen Mines. I was like, I'm not, the 1 in 1,000 chance, it's not happening here. So, but so story seems like we're not all too interested to talk about. I mean, there's a reason why we regularly refer to the story as Star Wars, like remade. I mean, the judges are Jedis, or the Sith, however you want to look at it. You have the rebellion. You have the land caught in between the wars. You have the ultimate weapon to destroy everything, and then you have sky battles, which look like which I swear to God they recycled the TIE fighter sound for.
Yeah, I could have swore I heard like during like one of the last cutscenes that I could have swore I heard actual Star Wars sounds. It's like this doesn't sound right. Is that like open domain? Public domain sounds there? Are they using these?
Well, you want to know something funny? The Mega Man charge up sound is open domain. So if you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z, the Janemba movie, he charges up a kick and he charges it up to the Mega Man charge up sound. He goes,
Nice.
yeah.
Actually,
that was
I
really
think
good.
somewhere in those last couple of cutscenes leading up to the ending, you get the Wilhelm scream, which
you
was
do.
was very prominent in the Star Wars movies. And I was like, is that are they specifically referencing that, or is that just kind of like, well, it's the Wilhelm scream, we're going to put it in?
And one of the most disappointing things is that the more interesting villain is not the primary villain. Like, all the interesting villains are not the primary villain of the story. Vayne Solidor is in no way an interesting villain.
No,
There's a lot of potential for him because
But just like Vaughn and Pinello,
yeah, they
just
never develop it very well because it's too much stuff that's happening very, very behind the scenes that you never really get directly impacted by. The things that he does, it's all very political based. The way that he's taking power and making power moves, etc. It all happens off screen, and the way that it impacts the story is that they tell you in those little scenes where, what's his name? I think it's one of the Sids.
Yeah,
Al Cid?
Yeah,
The old Sid, where he's monologuing about what's happening. In the
Oh,
world.
that's so you mean Sid's like Balthier's father, Sid?
No. Oh God,
Cool
which one is it?
son, I wear
I only know
sunglasses.
two Sids. I know Al Cid. I know
I
Al
can't-
Cid.
I
The
can't
dude
remember
with
what
the
his name is.
glasses. The guy with the glasses, and he's
No.
sexy with the shirt
No,
open.
not Balthier's dad. The guy that does the monologues in between the story bits, where it's just text on the
Oh, okay.
screen. Whatever
okay,
that character's name is. I
yeah.
thought it may have been Sid.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought you were because I only know Al Cid, the dude who's
Andor.
like,
Thank you. All right.
Andor. There you go.
I had no idea that was Balthier's dad.
Sid, the Sid in the story.
Dr.
like,
Sid that you
Dr.
fight
Sid is his dad.
At Drake Lore Labs.
Yeah.
Balthier's dad. He talks about that on Fawn Coast before you get to the Arcades.
Yeah, I missed that because I was that enthused with the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a better story than FF8 or FF9, sorry, but that's just me.
I couldn't care less. There's a reason why Vayne. See, here's the thing: they use Vaughn in Dissidia, but then they use Gabranth as the villain, and it's like I think they sat down at the Dissidia meeting like, so who do we want to use for 12? Because like, do we use Dr. Sid? He's really like the villain, but you have Gabranth who actually like sets the entire story events in motion by killing the king. Your mic is muted, or my headset just died.
No, I was muted. I was responding to someone in chat.
Oh, okay. Confused the hell out of me.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then you have Vayne Solidor, who nobody gives a shit about. Although you can imagine, honestly, Vayne Solidor is probably the form. Like, I still probably would have made him the villain of Dissidia, because at least when he goes EX form, he turns into the Undying and he goes nuts or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he goes fucking crazy at the end of the game.
Yeah.
They don't really explain at least his second phase, but his third phase is like, okay, why didn't you do that to begin with? Like, why did Vernat not just go and do that?
And really, it's Vernat who's the main villain. Like, he's the Okuria that could, I guess. He's the little Okuria that could. And he's the one who sets the whole thing into motion with Dr. Sid and then eventually
which is cool. I just wish man. There's so
And then
many great plot points in the game that don't get realized well enough that frustrates me a lot.
Yeah, I completely
Because I'm a
agree.
big fan of politically driven stories, like Final Fantasy Tactics, my favorite game of all time, but it's done very well in Tactics as long as you're following along. And in 12, it just never gets to that point where it feels cohesive, I guess.
And that's an important thing to talk about, because 12 is different from every other Final Fantasy in a sense that it's not its own universe. Ivalice has been pre-developed prior to 12 actually launching.
5 games now?
Yeah.
5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Tactics Advance to Final Fantasy 12, Revenant Wings, and then one more.
There's I forgot the last one. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I usually forget Revenant Wings. Oh, Vagrant Story.
Vagrant Story.
There you go, Vagrant Story. And that's a lot different than the other Final Fantasies, but it doesn't feel like they drew upon any of what Ivalice set up other than the fact that it was Ivalice.
Yeah, which is what bothers me so much as a Tactics fanboy. I've gotten over that for the most part since, but it's one of those things where it feels like people have taken the name. It's like, oh, it's like a name brand. It's a brand. So we're going to take Ivalice, and now we're going to put a completely different story, completely different characters, completely different setting into the world. We're just going to reuse some of the names, but it doesn't have any real ties.
I mean, Ivalice is one of the... I mean, because it's such a developed universe, though, it has inspired a lot of a lot of other Final Fantasies, even just looking at what they draw. I know 14 literally draws its primary villain, Zodiac, is, one of the... And then all of his servants are named after... not the Okuria, there's a sign, each of the
Lucavi
13
are what they're called in
yeah,
Tactics.
there you go. They're all named after that as well. So there's a lot of inspiration for Ivalice that touches the other Final Fantasy games. It's just that it's not ever... Just 12 doesn't realize it very well, unfortunately. So moving on from the story, we kind of already joked around about the characters too, but we probably want to touch upon them. There's 6 characters you get to play as, and then you have how many guest characters? You have Redis, Larsa, you have what's his face?
Vossler,
or as I call him, Bossler, because that dude's a fucking boss.
He's a tank. God,
Yeah.
he crushes enemies.
And there's one more. I can't remember who. I think there's more than 3 guest characters throughout the game.
There's also a few that joined for a single hunt, but
yeah, you don't count those guys though. The members from the Hunting Academy, and this is a game where choosing 3 party members is pretty suboptimal way to play the game, because if you make use of all 6, the game gets much easier. And in fact, the way that these 6 characters are utilized, you can pretty much abuse them in any way possible. If you hate somebody, make them your sacrifice. It's pretty interesting. So I don't know if you guys went with the play all 6 or if you guys went with the play 3, ignore 3 means of playing the game. Which one did you guys go for? You didn't have much of a choice, Slack. You don't have a choice in your version.
I played them all.
Really?
Yep, I played them all, but I ended up again beating the game underleveled. Not a lot of extra items. Like I know I didn't even have bubble, and
Ooh.
It's tough.
that
Well,
last-
you didn't do the
that
bonus
last boss
content,
was a
did you?
lot of fun. Like it's like he does his like one shot kills a whole field. I'm like, okay, go and bring out the other party afterwards, and then raise them all up. And like once I figured out that I can buff and heal and res people that are not on the party.
I
like
didn't know that until almost the end.
Yeah.
Wait,
Same
what?
thing.
There is like one area though that I had to spam Phoenix Downs to live. I ended up going through 70 Phoenix Downs in one room.
In one room?
Which
In one
room?
You'll know it's the room in that last big dungeon where if you make
Pharaohs.
2 wrong choices, you go into the room where it just keeps spawning skeletons over and over and over.
In the
I
Great
love that.
Crystal or in the Bahamut?
No, he's talking about in Pharaohs.
In the tower. In the tower.
Oh, okay.
I know what he's talking about.
Oh, I think I remember.
It's in the third ascent where
Yeah.
you have to go and choose between the different colors, and if you choose the wrong color, you get work.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that part, yeah.
I love that room though because I power level off that
Yeah,
room.
it's great for leveling. But yeah. For me, I was playing a different version of the game, and in my version, you actually choose classes for your characters. So for anybody that's not familiar with the IZGS and what it does, instead of having one license board that everybody has access to, it gives you a choice of different classes, and each character gets to choose their own class, and that class has its very own designed license board with restrictions on spells, equipment, so on and so forth. So, for example, my Vaughn is a hunter, and hunters get access to shields, light armor, daggers, and ninja swords. They're a tank-ish class. They get a lot of HP up as well. Their weapon damage is based off of speed, and you can either go with the two-hander ninja swords. I don't know how those are two-handers. You don't even dual wield with it. That frustrates me. Or you can go with the speed up, shield, block, evasion, tanking stuff. And then so on and so forth with some of the other classes. So for me, I like using the other characters because it actually provides a completely different level of variety for my team makeup constantly. I've got a knight, which uses sword like your typical knight, a little bit of white magic, some swords, shields, two-handed claymore, great swords later on, heavy armor. Excuse me. I also have a machinist, which is terrible. Machinists suck.
Hey, I'm a machinist in 14.
In 14, they're probably actually fun and good. In 12, not so much. Guns doing non-scale damage isn't great, and that's all that they bring to a team. They're kind of okay if you set them up with using item gambits and having them be like the main person to use their items because they get access to, I think she got Phoenix lores.
Yeah, I think you get Phoenix lores and potion lores.
And potion lores, yeah. I know she got the remedy lores. A lot of the classes actually get the remedy lores, which is nice. But machinist overall just very, very disappointing compared to everything else because it brings so little utility, so little to do anything for a team. And then there is the hunter, the knight, the machinist, Ulan, which is basically a dragoon minus jumping. So I'm running around with a spear. God, does he hurt. I've got Bosch as my Ulan, and he just chunks people for way more damage than anybody else, any other physical attacker on the team is doing. And then I have a red mage, which is my only kind of healer aside from the knight, which is actually a really interesting party dynamic to be finding a way to like survive the fights without the red mage on the team and having the knight be the primary healer has been really interesting for me. And then the red mage who gets really good spell selection, like a shockingly good variety of spells. I've got bubble, decoy, reverse, which are going
So
to
you have the only 3 things that matter.
Yeah, for the end game super bosses, I have
Really
the 3
great
most
selection.
important abilities. Yeah,
It's the only selection that matters,
yeah.
especially
I
in IZJS.
I only know what bubble is out of those.
So
Decoy makes it so that whatever person you cast it on becomes the primary target of all enemy attacks. It literally lets you turn somebody into the party's tank.
It's provoke then.
Yeah.
It's spelled provoke. That's cool.
But someone else using it on them.
That's nice.
And then what was the other one?
reverse.
Reverse. Healing damages you, and damaging heals you. It literally reverses the way.
So you make
things
one person with decoy, you give them reverse, and all damage they take
is healed.
is healed.
It's
sounds silly.
really silly. Yeah,
Now,
it's one of the dumber mechanics of the game.
What's even more broken is in our version, MMORAG, debuffs have a very high chance of missing, and buffs have a moderately high chance of missing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, reverse only lasts about 10 seconds in our version. In his version, though, not only do all the debuffs and buffs have a much higher chance of being successful, but reverse lasts, I think, 20 seconds in his version.
Yeah, it's
15 to
way
20.
longer. It's still pretty short, relatively, but it's much longer than the original.
And
You could still end up gambiting that easily, though.
oh yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, that's pretty much the end game strat, regardless of party composition. If you don't want to be forced to spam heal, especially because some bosses just get stupid, like in terms of how frequently they attack and how much damage they deal. Reverse becomes the only reasonable means of countering the barrage of damage while still outputting damage back. And in his version, it only gets easier, and that's going to be an important part to talk about IZJS, because with all of these adjustments that he makes, you don't care about what your characters actually do in the story anymore. You just care about which job they are.
Yeah.
And it takes away a little bit, but at the same time, it makes it so you can't be like me, who just goes, well, I have Bosch von Ronsenberg of Dalmasca on my team, and therefore I don't need anybody else. So I'm feeling pretty good right there. Your version also has some weapons that are stronger than the Zodiac Spear, but getting them is fucking
Much
stupid.
stronger, but it's a lot of work. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I'll probably be doing a lot of that work off stream once I get up to the point where I can do that stuff. All right, to close out the class thing, I've also got a Black Mage, and I've already been able to break damage cap if I'm hitting an elemental weakness. So one of the other things IZJS does is that there is no damage cap. I can hit for over 10,000 in a single attack. From what I've heard, if you do the right setup, you can hit for over 100,000 with a single attack. Unfortunately, I do not believe I'll be able to do that with my current party setup. I think that requires a samurai. But even then, being able to cast a strong black magic spell and have it hit for 10, 20,000 late game is going to be really nice if I want to have Penelo in my party. Once she gets Scourge and what
Scourge
is
is
that the
dangerous.
level? Oh, Scathe. Scathe is the top one, right?
Scathe, yeah,
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, because everything you're describing is one big difference between our two games, is that the IZJS is considered, outside of a single encounter in the post game, the much, much easier version of Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah.
It sounds restricted, but these restrictions are completely let go by things like being able to break the damage cap and actually having parties that are completely dedicated to a single role.
Yeah. And then the other great thing, they completely redo the way that stats work. Your character's HP growth. You get a lot more HP just by leveling up, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about your base stats aside from HP, but they changed that. The other good thing that they do is they make it so that quickenings don't determine your MP pool.
And neither does summoning.
Yeah. So you can use your quickenings if you want. I'm actually doing a no quickening playthrough this time. I used them once or twice very early on, kind of for fun, because I was mad at an enemy. But for the most part, actually getting through the content, I'm trying to avoid using those, because they're really a boring, annoying mechanic. They're completely uninteresting. So I'm trying to get through by using my class's abilities. But the change that they make from the original version for quickenings is that in the original, your MP pool gets doubled and then tripled compared to the base once you unlock the quickenings.
The
license
quickening
plate
tiers, yeah.
So in this game, your MP just scales up. I have characters that have like either 1 or 0 quickenings right now, and they still have like 2, 3, 400 MP. It's so much better. Not to mention, if I do choose to use the quickenings or the summons, it doesn't use my MP. It's a separate bar. It's like a limit bar from the other Final Fantasies.
That's way niftier.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the niftiness, because even though this is count up towards 15, I do have some things specifically to reference into 12 when we talk more about how it's affecting 15 and the certain development choices they're making. Zodiac Age is another thing that people are looking forward to, and it's our first official launch of the International Edition outside of the 2 regions that Slack mentioned earlier. And with that, he's already described some of the major differences, but the differences get a little bit more intense when it comes to Zodiac Age. Now, Quickenings is the first one he mentioned. For those who don't understand, Quickenings are basically a mini quick time event that resembles Zack's sort of combo thing, but except you just press a single button. If it's lit up and you have the MP for it, then you pull off an attack, get to chain them together, and then it ends with one ultimate attack at the end based on how many Quickenings and what types of Quickenings you actually got to use. It's one of the easiest ways to burst a boss down or to bypass resistances of some kind. If they have like a magic resistance, it is a physic. Quickenings are considered physical.
We'll talk about that little mechanic more later.
Yeah. And then summons are generally considered, they're not useless in the original as much as people like to say they are. They're very niche, and you have to know when to use them. But basically, they eat your MP, and then they replace your party in the original version, and they don't do much with that when they replace your party.
Yeah. Summons in general get buffs across the board in IZGS. They go from a 1.5-minute timer in the original release up to a 4-minute timer. And they also get new abilities. For example,
and you're able to control the abilities that they'll actually use.
Yes.
We don't. That's the thing. In our version, we can't control them. They just do whatever they see fit for the scenario.
Yeah.
And you just hope it's what you needed them to do.
Yeah, I didn't even find a useful time to use it because
One time, and that's to open a fucking door.
Advance the story. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, it's like because like you go in to summon them. It's like if you summon it like in an oh shit moment, but it's already too late because you're being targeted. As soon as he pops out, you're getting targeted down and you're dead because he doesn't taunt everything.
I had somebody Ash 10. He's somebody who's pretty well known for Final Fantasy 12 videos. He's been putting them out. He knows every trick in the entire game. He helped me with Zodiac. I learned a nifty little trick. Apparently, the Zalera summon goes through his physical and magical palings. So if you use Zalera against Zodiac, when the final percentages, you pretty much just need 1 or 2 of his special attacks, and you'll finish him off with whatever HP he has.
Now, is that true in the IZGS?
I don't know if it is because I think there's there's easier ways to combat Zodiac's palings in the international.
Oh God, he
edition.
is a pain in the ass. On my last playthrough, when I went up against him, he was maybe the most frustrating fight.
Yeah. And man, it all comes together. One big thing with Zodiac Edition that you haven't mentioned yet is speed up. Our favorite, I think we've all agreed at this point, any Final Fantasy game with a speed up is the greatest mechanic of all time. And
I mean, I can tolerate it in some of the older one, like before this one. In 9, it's really nice to skip because 9 was so slow as well. In 8, it was nice just because I was trying to get through the game quickly. 7, we didn't have it in 7, and I didn't feel like it got in the way of me enjoying 7 too much, not having it there. 10, mostly good just because of doing the bonus content, going out and doing the monster farming, stuff like that. It's been very nice for that. In 12, the reason it's so nice is because very much like 9, the basic game is incredibly slowly paced. Everything happens at a snail's pace. Spell animations, we'll talk about. I assume we're going to talk about the ATB system a little bit.
That's a big one, yeah. Especially because Zodiac Age revealed a big overhaul to the spell system.
Yeah. So you'll have a character that gets a spell charged, and they're sitting there, and they've got it, and then they do their animation, and then the spell animation starts up, and this whole time, the other characters, if they are using a spell, they can't fucking do anything. They're stuck waiting for this other character to finish, and then they finish, and they're like, all right, finally, I get to fire off my cure spell, while the enemies have been beating on us, and we've been getting sapped to death for the last minute straight.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The spell, it's known as spell queuing. In both of our versions, it's the same. I know a big boss that's guilty of being a pain in the ass because of that is Yazmat. Towards the end, he has an attack that has a chance to instant kill, and this goes for enemies too. If an enemy is using an action that has a long cast time, same deal. You have to sit there and wait for the enemy to finish that ability before your spell is allowed to go off. And sometimes those animations are like
one of the 2 or 3 biggest problems with the game system by far.
Yeah. To reference that, in Zodiac Age, they have announced that's removed.
Interesting.
You will that animation delay, that spell queuing delay, has been entirely removed in Zodiac Age.
I have not heard about that. Ooh, that is actually really exciting.
Yeah,
that will make the Zodiac Edition even easier.
I noticed
even more fun.
That spells were being really weird and I didn't understand why, but that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, especially when one of them's a heal and you're like, man, I'm gonna get this heal off, and then they start casting a spell and you're fucked, basically. Another rumored change in Zodiac Age, and this is another reference to International, is there's the rumor that they will allow you to change jobs at some point in the game at the cost of you needing to start the license board for that new job from scratch.
Yeah.
Easy.
Which
Yeah.
is
I have no
another
problem with
huge
that.
quality of life change if that is the case. Because one thing about Zodiac Edition, you mentioned all those classes. One thing you didn't mention is that once you pick one,
Yeah, I was trying to get around to that, and then I forgot. Got sidetracked. Once you pick these jobs, if you don't know what you're getting into, which it's pretty easy to go to look at the license board before you choose a job and be like, okay, I need to get a healer on my team now, basically. It's easy to look around the license board and then say, okay, I'm going to have one of these jobs. But you need to be that. You need to do that before you decide everything, before you choose everybody's jobs, because you get locked in with the jobs in this version. And if you choose poor team makeup, you're going to have a very difficult time getting through some of the fights in the game, especially if you're trying to do the bonus content.
and so how do you feel about Zodiac Age potentially taking that out? Because some people love that it's that way. Some people hate
I
it.
have no problem with it. It's nice to be able to experiment with some of the stuff. And I mean, honestly, on a first playthrough, to a certain degree, if you played an RPG before, you're gonna know that you want some healing and that you want probably a little bit of buffing or debuffing. But beyond that, there's so much other stuff that 12 does that's very unique to 12 that you don't know going into it the first time, that I am really okay with being able to switch jobs later on. I personally probably won't take advantage of it. I'm actually thinking of doing like a 3-job fiesta where I get 3 jobs randomized and then I use those 3 jobs for the rest of the game.
Good luck if you don't get a healer.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried
Yeah, all of a
about.
sudden it's like, 6-job fiesta now, guys.
6-job fiesta. Hey, I changed my mind. Yeah. Like I totally get it. I have no major problem with being able to switch the jobs. There's the limit. There's the personal limitation there if you want to use it still. But there are things like Wither and Expose and the other 2 debuffs that I can't remember for those abilities
Yeah, I know
that have
about
gotten
those.
extremely buffed in the Zodiac's version. Because in the original version, there's a lot of bosses that are immune, just straight up immune to those. But in the Zodiac job system version, I know that at least Yazmat is susceptible to all
all
4
of them. In the
I don't know
regular
about the
version,
other
he's
bosses,
only. So yeah, Yazmat's a big. So we talked a lot about a lot of the different systems. We're kind of just bouncing back and forth between like some of the different systems of 12 and kind of like its story. We're without direction right now. So I kind of want to nail that down. Let's move directly into talking about all the things that you're able to do in the game with this combat system that we've gone well out of our way to discuss at this point. Morag, how many hunts, how many side things did you do at all?
Barely any, actually. Like I like one of the problems I had with this game when I first played it, because I played this before when it first came out. Like I went nuts, even to the point where I ended up going out and like I went and got one of the Final Fantasy 12 potions. Like I was crazy for this game when it first came out. But the problem that I had with it is the EXP curve on it was silly.
Oh yeah.
Especially like when you first get to Wraithwall's tomb, like that period there killed me for wanting to continue playing the game, because like I played through it and it was good, and then I got into there, I got all the stuff in there, and I got to the next area, and then it was yet another big EXP curve before I could progress through the game again, and it just felt like the game just kept pushing me back when I wanted to push forward, and I was just I ended up getting bored of the game, and I ended up ultimately stopping. I stopped right at the first Sid fight, but playing through it now, I found out that after the first Sid fight, it's easy peasy from there. Like there's no EXP curve. There's nothing that's pushing you back to continue playing
Just
the
some
game.
really fucking annoying areas.
Yeah, there's an extreme problem with that. I totally agree, and I think the reason for that is like they are expecting you to go out and do all of these hunts.
Yes and no, but
Fine.
why not do it in that later half of the game then? Only the first half.
Yeah, the later
they
half of the
front
game
load it
is
really
probably
badly.
where you'd expect. Every other game does that later half of the game way. Maybe they're like, we'll do it different.
Yeah. Well, and then the other problem is that the game wasn't finished. It was not supposed to be released in this state. They probably wanted another 2, 3, 4 years to work on it. But Square was like, dude, we got to get a game out. All right, enough of the delays. Let's go. So
Well,
the game that got released was not supposed to be final product.
Well,
But
I remember like seeing like some first generation screenshots of this game, and it was still classic turn-based. Three people sitting. I forget what it was, but they were on the beach, and it was showing just classic battles. And like from what I understand, it ended up going in and they changed the overall whole layout of the game 2 times. I think like the whole. They had to,
yeah, I think it was
pulled
2
the verses on it.
times, and
Like,
a little ways
versus-
through the second time, Square was like, "That's it, it's enough. You've got to get a game out now."
Yeah, it's like they want to try and create something new, unique, and then they're just like, nope. Well, I guess we can't do this. Let's pull a whole bunch of stuff from F11. Let's create a single player experience. Good, go ship it. We're out. Next game.
Oh no, my favorite part was, hey guys, we only have 4 characters. Why is that? It's like, I don't know. Can we just add 2 more real quick? What should their names be? Vaughn and Pinnell. Cool, we'll just add those in. Vaughn's the main character now, by the way. Is he? No. We're gonna say he is. Yeah, they towards the end of this game's development, things got well, I guess throughout the whole development, things were a little bit messed up. It even came out so late. Another reason was it was a PlayStation 2 title, and the PlayStation 3 was about to come out.
Yeah.
And they pushed this game out towards the very end of the PlayStation 2's life cycle. I think this was 2004?
I think it was 2006. Wait,
2006?
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's 2006 because I was just about to
Holy
say
2005.
5
This,
years.
this portal, or sorry, this potion thing. People were like, why don't you go drink it? So when I was reading the expiration date, I was like, oh, okay, 2012. That's the expiration date.
That's disgusting.
No.
I wouldn't drink something that lasts
But-
6 years in a bottle.
But I found out that in Japan it usually goes year, month, day. So it was 2007 is when it
Oh,
expired.
okay. I
Almost
was going
10
to say, yeah. I would not drink anything that could sit in a bottle for 6 years and be okay, other than
It's-
water. And
It's
even that.
almost inside. It's almost like a syrup. It's rather thick.
Yeah, don't drink that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Final Fantasy 12 release date March 16th, 2006.
Yeah, and when did the PlayStation 3 come out?
Wasn't it 2006 or 7?
I think it was 2006. Also.
Yeah, I want to say 2006.
Because I think it was even earlier because I don't know, the PlayStation 4 that was less than 10 years after
No, I'm pretty sure it was 2006. I feel like it was the same year.
PS3
now I gotta know.
release date. Yeah, I mean November 11, 2006.
I know
Okay,
this popped up a ton during my chat or during the playthrough too. Is that Van was added because they felt characters were never going to be able to connect with Bash.
Yeah.
Like I felt Bash.
I've heard that a
almost-
lot.
I almost felt Bash honestly as a character just sat on the sidelines half the time. You didn't even know exactly.
You mean
what-
Bosch von Ronsenberg of Dalmasca?
I'm gonna squeeze this whenever you say that from here
And
on
then you'll
out.
probably cough every time you squeeze it.
I haven't yet. I'm like on a 30+ second streak right now of no coughing.
I can fix that.
I hate you.
It's and this was March 2000. Yeah, so they were definitely under pressure to get it out before the PlayStation 3 hit because they were, I think, already under the development. Because I'm pretty sure they announced. Wait a minute, that means it came out 3 months before Final Fantasy 13 was announced, and Versus 13 were announced because those were announced in 2006.
Yeah.
Damn. No wonder they had to push this game out. They took way too long. It was 5 years after Final Fantasy 10 that this came out too. And before that, they had pretty much done almost one a year for like so many years.
Square Enix is pulling what Nintendo's doing with Zelda right now.
There you go. They're trying to push it out. They're just in time.
Push it out, way out.
That's pretty crazy that all that was the same year. 13 versus 13, which is now 15,
Yep.
was announced the same year Final Fantasy 12 was launched.
We live in weird times.
That just goes to show you the kind of state that Square Enix was in after the launch of the PlayStation 2, because we already know kind of that internally between the beginning of the PlayStation 2 and the end of the PlayStation 3 era, Square Enix was in a bit of a rut, especially after the launch of 1.0 in 2010. So
God, that was dark times.
those were dark times. And then Final Fantasy 13, which while has, again, I had to reiterate to my chat, Final Fantasy 13 is, I think, the 3rd highest selling Final Fantasy of all time. I think 12 is the 5th highest selling of all time.
Really? It's that high?
It's pretty high
that's
up.
following 10, yeah. can
Yeah,
see that.
I mean, even 10.2 is one of their highest, like, sellers. 9 is, like, I don't even know where 9 is on the list. It's, like, behind all.
Night
It's
tanked way down there, yeah.
not because it was at the end of the PlayStation 1 and Final Fantasy, whereas Final Fantasy 8 kind of lived off Final Fantasy 7's reputation. Final Fantasy 9 lived off 8's,
of Final Fantasy 8's
which
reputation.
wasn't as good as Final Fantasy 7's reputation. So there's a lot of factors that go into 9 not being one of their best sellers. Probably why it took them so long to remake it. Same with 12.
Yeah.
12 was a great seller. It was like 5 to 6 million units or something. Final Fantasy 7 was 11 million units, so it's pretty impressive. So, we're kind of talking about how they expect you to do all this optional content, and that's important. Hunts is probably the thing 12 is known for most, whether it's the rare enemy spawns or the actual hunts themselves, both of which are, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
Someone told me since we were talking about 10, I had to show it off, so...
I watched somebody walk up and give that to him at TwitchCon and say, this is for you. And they did it with a smile on their face, too.
I wish I was there for that.
I got to see Slack's raw reaction to receiving that as a gift, and it was beautiful.
I'm surprised you just take it out of the box right there and start dismantling it.
I thought about just smashing it right on the floor. I thought about taking it over to the Amazon trade-in booth.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Instead, I had to walk around with it for the next 4 hours.
I ran into him later, just hanging out by like a trash can, waiting for somebody, and I was like, "Are you here to throw that out? Like, are you just contemplating how to fit it in the tiny hole for the garbage in?" That was amazing. But anyway, so hunts and the rare spawns are probably the thing that 12 is.
I actually want to go back and do some of the hunts. Like 10 and 12 are the two games I actually want to go back and do more content in.
Nice.
Don't do it.
Good
trust
choices.
me. I did all the hunts. No, you see, in International Edition, the hunts are fine.
Yeah.
In our version, it's awful.
In what
Because
way?
you
What
get-
are the differences?
So the biggest difference is because his version can break the damage limit. A lot of the end game hunts have this mechanic where they cap your damage at 6,999.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
Yasmat
so
Yasmat
shitty.
does
What,
it. Nidhogg does. I mean, a bunch of the end game bosses after they lose about 30% of their health, or 50% of their health. For the rest of the fight, the maximum damage you can deal to them is 6,999. Doesn't matter how low their defense is, how high your attack is. That is the most damage you can deal.
7K is
30. It's a 30% damage reduction.
That's weird.
In his version, not only is that not there, but he can break the damage limit. So his bosses go down in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
In ours, Yasmat with 50 fucking million health when he does that shit, on top of him doubling his level to like 148 or something, becomes a nightmare of a fight. And
Yeah.
it takes ridiculous amount of time to finish that up. On top of that, needing incredibly cheesy... I realized as I got to the last 5 million health of Yasmat that they could have just made Yasmat a boss with 5 million health and made that last 5
And those
million...
mechanics, yeah.
And he would have been an amazing super boss, because those last 5 million, literally, it feels like you're fighting a different boss.
It really does.
I had to buy a body piece that cut wind damage in half, and as soon as I saw him start casting an ability, I had to pause the game, change my equipment to that, take the hit, and then change it back to my good equipment in order to even remotely stand a chance.
Well, it's like, because like going through that game, like the very last fight of the game was probably the most fun that I had playing the entire game in the battle system. Like actually using mechanics to like swap people out.
I could see that to a
outside.
degree, yeah.
Like all
Because
the
of the
all the
becoming
other
immune
fights
to
are
a certain
boring.
type of damage, which
Yeah.
is I actually hate the mechanic. In the original
too.
game, I can see it being kind of okay because everybody's got every ability basically. In the IZGS, it's like, especially with the spell queuing problem, swapping characters out because you can't do it because they're either being affected by a spell or they're getting ready to cast a spell, shit like that, making it impossible to get characters out of the team. That makes the mechanics especially bad.
Oh yeah, sitting there and waiting for like a character to like, okay, you're out of MP, I want to swap you out. Okay, I'm waiting. Okay, it's still not out.
Going into my menu. The other problem is that you can't be 100% sure if you're able to swap them out or not. So
Yeah.
you'll go into your party menu and be like, all right, party, I can't move them out. Back into the game. Wait 5 seconds. Try
Their
again.
name is Orange.
The name is Orange?
The name
I
is
don't know.
Orange if you can't swap them out, even in
I don't think
combat.
I've noticed that in my version.
Yeah, double check the names. If they're white, you can pull them out. If they're orange, you can't touch them.
I
In
only
the
noticed
menu
that
or in like the actual combat?
in combat, like
I
their
have
name,
to try to pay attention to that.
or in the menu too. Their name will be yellow as well.
Well, yeah,
too.
I noticed it in the menu. I didn't notice it in
Or
combat.
orange. Sorry.
And I'm colorblind, so I'm fucked. There you go. But yeah, so that's a big difference between our versions. And I did my little Yasmat trick. I sat there,
There's
I
a
turned
lot
on
of
all the
Yasmat tricks.
gambits, and I literally went into the other room and made a sandwich for like the first 50% of it. I'm not even kidding. Like, I treated it exactly the way I said. When I got to the last 5 million, I could not do that. And the last 5 million alone probably took me 2 hours before I finally went and bought the equipment that cuts the damage in half. And I started doing this thing where I saved every million HP because I just didn't want to chance it. And
Save?
you can leave the Yasmat fight
leave the
and
fight.
come back to it.
That's actually one of the tricks to the fight. So, all right, there's a few things here. What's the other boss that you can do that with? There's Yasmat and...
It's Hellworm.
Oh, yeah, the Hellworm, which is basically Yasmat Light.
No, yeah, except he's got 9 million HP, does nothing. Like, he just like
Yeah,
all of
it's
his
not even
mechanics are a
close,
joke.
but it's the same idea.
Does he regen his HP at all?
No.
If you're slow.
If he has the Regen spell on, he does.
Yeah. So what he starts doing as you run out of melee range of him, he starts buffing himself. He'll cast Protect, Haste, Shell, and at the very end, he'll cast Regen. If you don't get out of the arena before he applies Regen to himself, he'll regen health while you're out saving.
Youch.
So
Yes.
if you're,
Ouch
but it's
indeed.
really hard. Like, you got to be like sitting there waiting for him to do it. The more annoying thing is that what he'll do. So there's a spell called Renew in the game, and it's a full heal. That's all it does. At I think 10 million HP, and he only does this once per time you enter the arena. Like, if you exit and come back, he'll do it. But if you just fight him once through, he only does it once. He casts Reflect on your entire team. So if you cast Renew on yourself and you're reflected, you'll reflect the Renew onto him and send him back to 50 million health. And he'll still keep all of his mechanics that he had from being under 10 million HP. So
That's
yeah.
fun. I know I was told that the last boss has a chance of casting Renew, and I'm happy it didn't.
I mean, yeah, for you that's rough. For me, I would have been like, okay, that just made this 20-second fight 30 seconds instead.
The other thing with the Yasmat fight and going out and saving, I'm not sure if this is true in the original version. I think it is, but you can actually avoid him going to his new forms because, like, he changes every like at 40 million, 30 million, 20 million, and 10 million, and then 5 billion. I think he changes his AI patterns, and you can actually avoid him doing that. I think only to a point if you don't leave the arena, because it's leaving the arena and coming back in that triggers his AI change. And if you don't do that, he keeps doing the same stuff.
I think that's in Zodiac, because in mine, he totally changes his AI patterns.
Okay.
Because I went from 50 to 5 million, or I'm sorry, from 50 to 10 million before I changed. And but the thing is, every time I re-enter the arena, he has to go one by one through his AI patterns. Like, he starts at the 50 million, and then he does something, and then like he'll cast the Reflect, and then he'll go back down to the damage limit, then he'll double his level, and then he has to do all of them in order as soon as I re-enter the arena. So that's why I when you say you want to go back and do those hunts, Yasmat might be seriously the most boring way to go back and do. Like, he's not in any way fun in our version. I would say wait till Zodiac Age to take on the hunts, because between that and Omega's a lame as fuck fight who just is really annoying to get to.
Omega, honestly, I do not like a lot of the super bosses in this one. As out of all of them, I think I like Yasmat the most. I hate Omega, I hate Ultima, and I hate Zodiark. They're all huge pains in the ass to get through.
And not in the fun way either.
Not in the fun way at all.
They have such little HP bars, but they just go immune to damage, legit, for like just ridiculous amounts of time. Omega doesn't have that problem. Omega in our version, Morag, he literally does one thing, he just auto attacks you.
Oh.
In my version, oh god, what's the mechanic he uses? It's something. He's definitely scarier in this one, but you can counter it really easily. It's
in
really
your
scary.
version, he has 10 million health and he actually has mechanics. In our version, they made him only have 1 million health, but all of his auto attacks have Berserk on hit. And
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I know that there's a difference. In one version, he has more health and actual mechanics. In the other version, he has less health, but all of his attacks do, like, I don't know, like more damage. You can't wither, you can't expose him either.
Yeah.
So those are all big things. That's another big difference, Mark. In our version, you have to expose him to hit max HP. In their version, you can make Yasmat literally auto attack for 300 damage with wither and the right armor setups. In our version, not only does he have death on hit, but he'll hit you for like 4,000 a hit no matter how strong you are.
Death on hit, you just put an accessory on though, right?
Yeah, it only cuts the chance in half of you being affected, so it drops it from a 5% on hit to a 2.5% on hit.
Good enough. Set up two
And
people.
then he has an attack that has a 100% chance to kill, and with the accessory cuts it to 50%. And that's one of those abilities, by the way, that delays your spell queue, so you have to sit there and wait to find out if you're dead before raising the person. It's fucking horrible. But Omega's just boring. Also,
it's an interesting mechanic. Like, at least it's not like at least it's a 50-50 chance. Like, I can understand like the frustration behind it, but you just rename the whole fight the Jester, and it's the exact same style of mechanic. Then, like, is it really that bad of a mechanic?
It is, in conjunction with the fact that he will hit you like kill combo 16 times in a row with one single like set of auto attack animations, and he hits really hard. Like, that's just the thing.
I'd agree with you on that, because there are some bosses where they just hit you like 5 times in a row, and you're just like, how the hell do you get through this?
Yeah.
How do you get through this damage? Everyone just keeps dropping like flies because I can't get around this damage.
I'm not a fan of how extreme some of the bosses get when they get into their weakened states. It's just over the top silly strong.
Luckily, in Zodiac Edition, you just wither them down and fuck them.
It takes
Literally
forever to get Wither, though. Like, I think I just got it, and I still don't have access to it on my Ulan's board.
But once you get it, though, Yasmat becomes
cannot
laughable. When I say he goes from, in our version, hitting for 4,000 damage a hit, to in his version hitting for 300, I wish I was exexaggerating. But
Yeah, it's not an exaggeration at all.
Really not how ridiculously powerful Wither is in his version. The other aspect of it is just towards the end of the game, so I remember the Final Fantasy 15 developer saying, we want people, we know that one of our favorite things about Final Fantasy is everybody has a dungeon they remember, whether it's one they like, one they hate, or one they just appreciated. They're like, oh, this is cool, you know?
There was only one dungeon in 12 that does that for me.
There's plenty of dungeons in 12 that make me, I remember them all right. I don't remember how to get through them. The Great Crystal and
Great Crystal was fine.
Were you using a map for it? No, I totally agree. For my first playthrough,
exactly, it's not great. That's what
I
you
use
with a map. With a map, if you know where you're going, it's an interesting, fun zone. Without a map, though, that place is hell on earth.
Well,
I would never want to play through that without a map.
I wasn't having any issues with killing any enemies in there, but I also had Zodiac Sphere 2, which is literally another person DPSing on the field at that point in the game. But I don't know, like, I was looking at the map for it, but at the same time, you just keep an eye on which exit is which. Like, you just have to have good, what is it?
Spatial awareness.
Yeah. I think it was fine.
But fucking awful. But the thing is, you haven't yet gone back in there to find Ultima and Omega.
That I don't know about, because people are saying that there's more stuff in there. I'm like, where the hell? Like,
there's a lot more stuff in there.
Could have went, but
the path from the entrance to the main story advancement is very simple in comparison to the doors and the time limits you have to deal with to get to both Ultima and
in the IZGS version. I also have to go through a lot of those extra paths because there's a lot of important spells around there that I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, and the Excalibur, which is barely useful because you get it just before Ultima, and then you can't use it against her. And yeah, there's so many. The Great Crystal, and then you have run into Pharos, and Pharos, once you know how to trick the dungeon, is not that bad. Both the Ascent and the Subterra. But it's still one of those dungeons that your first time through, you're not going to be happy with yourself by the time you're done with that place. It just drags on and on and on, and then you end up using 70 Phoenix Downs because you took a wrong turn, or there's fake walls with secret rewards behind them that you can't identify.
I am happy that I had a map for that last dungeon, because the very, very last crystal, I'm just like, really? It's like the hint was, go for the colorless. It's like, I don't see no colorless around here. I look at map, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's a hidden goddamn wall for the final area.
There's a really good, I think there's one of those, just like the third best spear in the game is hidden back there or something. I can't remember.
Well, right, yeah.
I was trying to find a way to activate one more bridge, and I ran up and down between like floors 20 and 60 for like 3 hours trying to find a way to activate it.
Yeah, and
It's
then there's also enemies that respawn, and you gotta wait for them to respawn and kill and the right one has to respawn in order for the bridge to complete, and then you gotta do
Yeah.
that for 2 different bridges to get to the secret loot that's on the other side.
Don't remind me. I'm not looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I went into the last fight with like only 3 Phoenix Downs
Yeah.
because of that goddamn room. I completely forgot to buy more, but it was good anyway.
Yeah, and it's just that all that culminates in the last half of the game to really make you wish you were just playing Zodiac Edition, because all those things are rendered a lot less of not necessarily because they're different, but because International Zodiac is just more interesting to progress through. It's kind of like the whole when we're going to compare 13 to 10 next week, where we talk about progression, why those 2 games, which are both incredibly linear, don't feel, one of them feels more linear than the other, and the progression system is a big reason.
Yeah, I broke it down yesterday. I have notes and everything to bring for next week. For why 13 is a very special cupcake.
And another thing that we haven't even touched upon is rare spawns in this game.
Yeah.
I think I only saw like 2 the entire game, and one was in Pharos when you use the teleport back.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. You're talking about the Colossus looking thing.
I think he's called the Tower.
Yeah, Tower, who's, by the way, one of the more important ones you need to kill for certain weapons and shit.
Yeah, I was told he drops the best helmet in the game.
The Grand Helm.
At 2 or 3%.
Yeah, no, 1%. 1% with no chain bonus. And so rare spawns in this game, again, totally inspired by Final Fantasy XI, the game that preceded this one. Bunch of rare spawn conditions. Some of them require weather. Some of them require chain bonuses. Some of them require you killing another rare. And it all culminates into you finding out that a lot of the best items in the game come off these rare spawns with ridiculously low drop rates. And it extends the life of the game in a way that it's not always the most
Not
thrilling.
for me. Not in my version.
Shut the fuck up about your version, all right? Your version, fuck it, all right? The real end game was in our version, because so there's one, I think, where you need like a 100 chain bonus on a certain enemy. It's in the desert. I can't remember what those fucking things are called in the desert race with the fucking peg legs, whatever the fuck they're called.
Where they go and kill each other because they got help.
Yeah, because they asked for help, and then
That's
it's part
good,
of a
buddy.
sad quest. You have to get like a chain bonus or Uritans. There you go. You need a chain bonus of 100 Uritans. You need to kill 100 Uritans to spawn the Uritan Exile, and then he has like a 3% drop rate on a ninja sword that you can buy from an NPC like maybe 30 minutes to an hour later in the game.
Oh, that's so silly.
And then you have one of them spawns just before Gilgamesh. He's got a 25% chance of spawning, and then he's got like a 3% chance of dropping like the best ninja sword. And then you have the Tower, which has a 1% spawn rate on the Grand Helm, and then you have the fucking pony inside of the what's the area with Chaos? The area with the Zodiac Spear. I can't remember its name right now. Through the Feywild.
Navidaris.
Yeah, there you go.
Nabudis.
Yeah, Nabudis. The thing at Nabudis. You have that one which spawns, and then that one has a 1% drop rate. And then there's all these tricks, like if you kill it as you're zoning out and you zone out before you get experience points, it'll respawn when you zone back in, so you can chain the mob off of itself to get chain bonuses to increase the drop rate. And it's just like all of this just comes together in such a way where I was excited when I ran into one, but by no means was I going to go out of my way for any of these except for the one for the ninja sword. And I ended up regretting that decision later because it was dark element. All those are dark element, and I had a strategy in mind that did not work at all. I was going to try to have my characters auto attack themselves with like absorb dark on every time they lost health, and it did not work at all. Let me just put that out there. That strategy worked. It was not effective in any way. Yeah, the Necro Hall at Nabudis. Yeah, there you go. Man. Oh, and we didn't even get to talk about the bazaar system in this game where you have to sell the right items at the same time. Like, not even at the same time. It's just it queued them up, and then as soon as the item was available, it set all their counters to 0 again. So if you didn't like set it up in certain ways, you can miss sales and shit.
It made me sad because I couldn't find anything super solid for information. Like if I can get multiples of some items. So I was like, well, if I know, there we go. If I know, like, if I'm gonna sell all these items for money, could have I sold this in like 4 different waves to get 4 different items? Like some items I think some items said you couldn't, but I couldn't find any solid information on finding out what I
Literally
could
single
do.
player MMO, and I don't ever think I've seen an MMO be that frustrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's I wish that they just queued them and said, okay, congratulations, you now have X amount of items you can actually buy because you went and sent them in. It just, yeah. No, I'm not drinking the damn potion. It's not going to help me. It's going to make me throw up.
Well, if you're dead, you're not sick, right?
I'm gonna, where is it? Where is it?
I'm just saying.
So for my version, there are 2 ways to get some of my best equipment. To get the new super duper uber boober boober dooger weapons,
bow.
the greatest weapons in the game, what I have to do is I have to go out and I have to farm certain materials and sell them to the shops. And all of those weapons, what they do is they take a typical weapon from that school, like for the guns. I think the best weapon there is the Aldebaran Y. So earlier in the game, there's a gun called the Aldebaran. And then there's the Aldebaran Y, which is the strongest gun you can get. And you have to farm up materials for it and sell them, blah, blah, blah. And what they did is that each super weapon is a typical weapon with the letter thrown at the end. And if you take all of those letters from all of the weapons, it spells out Final Fantasy. Ta-da!
Shut the fuck up.
That's how it works. So every weapon in the IZGS gets a super version. So they don't all lag behind the Zodiac Spear bullshit, which is really nice. And then the other way that I get my ultimate armors, I think this is true of all the armors. What I have to do is I go and I find a treasure chest spawn. And then I punch my characters until I've manipulated the RNG to the point where I know that I'm going to get the armor out of that treasure chest.
Yeah, that's a big one. On the PlayStation 2, you were able to look for a flickering
That
light.
reaction from MMO.
Weren't you
How
able?
the hell do you know what the RNG is on that?
I mean, that's like
It's very
how people
specifically
figured out
set
the.
up.
That's how
Yeah.
like how people figured out the step-by-step RNG for like speed runs, where it's like if you take
Yeah.
like this amount of steps and you have the counter on the side, and then you go to a menu and it resets it. It's kind of like the same thing. But I know that on the PlayStation 2 version, one thing you could do is like watch the light on the front of the PlayStation 2 if it like flickered or something like that. And you were able to manipulate, or you were able to figure out if the chest had the right item in it through something.
Huh.
I don't know. There was like a really fucking weird means of RNG manipulation in order to get some. Because I think there's a new bow in your version that has like 225 attack, like 50 evasion.
I think
shit
so,
like that.
yeah.
It begins with an S, I think the name.
I don't know. I haven't paid attention to the bow stuff.
And I know there was like, it's like a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting it from some sort of chest. And then you have this fucking means, like you have to look at the PlayStation 2 and you have to listen for when it's reading the disc. And if it reads the disc at the right time and the light flashes on your PlayStation 2, then you know that you can grab the item out of the chest. But you have to do
Planets
it,
are alive.
but you have to be able to do it right when the light the Sea Grant bow. That's what it's
Okay.
called. In fact, I'm going to Google the exact method of getting the Sea Grant bow while we talk about that. But, I mean, these are all systems that I don't think I would ever...
You know, it's kind of funny because like I know Chrono Trigger has been ripped apart for its RNG because it's all based on how many frames you sit in the file select screen. That sets the RNG for the entire game.
Oh, right, yeah.
But it's it's amusing that they're able to figure it out for a cartridge-based game, but for a disc-based game, watching and listening for the disc, that's genius.
That's next level stuff. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that as a kid I was like, what's it reading right now? What's it doing? I wish I knew.
Yeah.
And now we're actually at a point where people have figured stuff like that out. And
It is kind of
that's
interesting because like
actually
I'm just thinking back now to like when I was playing Final Fantasy 13 on the 360. That disc span up at the most random times. I'm like, what the hell is it doing right now? I'm standing still and it's still loading shit. What is it doing? I can hear you, 360. Stop it.
So I found it. Okay, so here's the 100. This is called the synchro method of obtaining the Sighten Great bow. And just to reiterate, the Zodiac Spear has 150 attack. This has 220 something, and it also has like 50 evasion and 50 magic accuracy and shit like that. So first, you need to equip the right armor. You need the diamond armlet equipped.
Right,
That's
yeah.
one thing. Once you've done that, have no status effects. Then you need to hard reset your PlayStation 2 by pushing the power button.
Ba, 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 ba.
Once the file loads, don't touch your game for 1 minute. Then you need to take an airship from Rabanastre to Nalbina. Then you need to it takes about 4 minutes. You need to wait exactly 4 minutes after zoning before you move. And then the big thing is you need to listen for the DVD drive in the PlayStation 2 to click. And then you need to pay attention to this kid that you're looking at. And you just look at the kid, and when the kid does the right thing, the chest will be there. Or some shit like that. It's like, it's fucking stupid.
Someone just
I'm
linked.
picturing Vaughn just sitting in the airport, just staring at a kid like, go ahead, kid, do it.
Like you would have a better chance of convincing me on how to get purple Pikmin in like the first Pikmin game. All right.
So I was just linked a 14-minute video on how to get this 100%.
Yeah, it's called the synchro method, and it's and also you have to open the chest at the exact second to manipulate the RNG. Otherwise, it's like 50 gil. So it's fun. And keep in mind, you could do this without RNG, but it's like a 1 in 1,000 chance of it happening. And then
1 in 1,000 or 1 in you didn't open it at the right time.
And even funnier is it depends on the model PlayStation 2 you're using as well. You need to be using the correct model PlayStation 2 or none of this works. So in Zodiac Age, we're fucked, by the way, because we can't do any of this. I'm just saying. Oh my god. It's just insane. Like, these are the kind of things that Final Fantasy does. Like, we like to talk about Final Fantasy IX's, ATB system and how, all these hidden No, this is as hidden as RNG manipulation or anything gets.
I wouldn't even say that's a hidden. That is finding a way how the RNG in the game works. That's not a hidden mechanic at all.
Like, literally, the most troubling post on Game FAQs is someone's having trouble hearing their PlayStation 2. They're complaining that their PlayStation 2 isn't clicking, and they can't hear it enough to make the distinction. It's insane. Oh, man. Woo. Man, data mining these old games has comes with some perks, doesn't it?
How about that ATV gauge?
Yeah, man. So all this stuff, and it's important that we talk about this because the whole point of Count Up is to talk about Final Fantasy 15 and the inspirations of 12 going on to 15. First of all, I hope none of that is an inspiration on anything in Final Fantasy 15.
Can we not have that at all?
It's gonna be there.
No, it won't. It's totally not going to be there.
It's gonna be there.
No, it's not. Stop it. It's not going to do it.
It's gonna be there.
It's not going to do it. Okay. But one big thing is these hunts. Hunts are in Final Fantasy 15. But I already feel like Final Fantasy 12 did it better.
Really?
Final Fantasy 12's hunts.
You can't say that. You cannot say that because how many times has 15 already changed since they announced the delay? And that's true. I am still gonna call it from the day they announced the delay, even before when they put out the first patch to the first bonus content, or the first demo that they put out. They have yet to have a solidified system for gameplay, and that scares the shit out of me.
Let me just explain why. In Final Fantasy 12, every hunt that's on the board is acceptable. In Final Fantasy 15, you must do them one at a time.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's no good.
Assuming it stays that way, Final Fantasy 12 has already done it better.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then there's the question of rare spawns, whether or not. Now, we've already seen that to some degree. In Episodes of Sky, there's a type of enemy that roams the field, but it's incredibly rare whether or not you run into it. So rare, in fact, that when you do run into it, it gives you 777 EXP to kill one. I don't remember the name. It's an Ixion-looking thing. I don't remember what they're called. It's a very simple name. One of our chats will know. And 13 had the same problem, too. And we'll talk about that next week. The Seatstone missions can only be done one at a time.
Yeah.
And they're the equivalent of what are hunts. So I'm curious as to why they've shifted away from that in 12. Maybe perhaps they felt that without that lack of direction, people were getting overly distracted.
Makes sense.
Mesmeniers. Mesmeniers are the enemy in 15 that are incredibly rare. And upon killing one, you can get its horn as loot, which is used in crafting and all that shit. And it gives you 777 EXP upon killing one. So
I hope that the crafting, the bazaar, essentially, since apparently 15 has it, I hope it's better in 15 than it was in 12.
Yeah, because I'm not counting items. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it.
I'll do the exact same thing I did here. I just sold everything.
Yep.
Like from the beginning. I can't get any real information out of this. I don't care. Sell everything.
I did that. I contemplated doing the early farm on that one rare spawn that only spawns when you have critical health. He drops some amazing items for the early game, but you can also get rich off of selling said items instead of using them. I can't remember what the name of the rare spawn is called. It's in Rabanastern's Western Lands, close to what's his face, the Tyrant, like in the zone before the Tyrant. I'm sure once again, my chat will know. And we'll have an answer soon enough.
Real quick, just to go and clarify with 13. 13, you could go and take multiple ones, but they're gated off. You had to do so many before you can get more and more and more.
I've literally done 35 missions. I can still only do one at a time. So I don't know when the fuck that's going to open up, but it's at the point where I don't give a shit whether or not it does. Dustia Farms. There you go. Dustia Farms. That's the one. Because it's a boss that only spawns when you have critical health, and it'll die to one Phoenix down. And so you can farm it for the books and levels regardless of at what point in the game, as long as you can get there. And it also drops a flame staff of some kind. And you could do it at like level 9 if you want to.
Yeah, that's really easy early on.
Incredibly effective. But yeah, I'm curious to see where 15 draws its inspirations from 12, because it's a game that's trying to be on a similar grand scale to 12, but it's doing it with technology that can actually keep up with said grand scale. Fingers crossed. Are you guys? So that means you're not confident, but you're hoping.
I am hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I mean, we saw what happened with 12. It failed in a lot of regards. It came up short, and it's nice to think that 15 will fix all of those things, but I don't pretend that it will for sure.
Do you think we'll have rare spawns? Like Mesmenir is one situation, but actual rare spawns, the way they worked in 12. Do you think we'll see those in 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope so.
They're probably going to be even worse.
Don't say that. Just go back to coughing, please. Just go back to drinking your potion. All right? Don't drink the potion. I don't want you to be, as much as I don't want you to be sick, I also don't want you to be dead. Oh, man.
I'll drink my Canadian potion. My Tim Hortons.
Canadian potion. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving, by the way.
Hey,
Morag.
yeah. Thanksgiving today. I had mine
It's
on
also Columbus
Saturday
Day. I wonder if those two things have any correlation whatsoever.
I
Probably
don't
not.
think so. Like, from what I understand, the only reason why Canadian Thanksgiving is a month earlier is because our harvest is earlier.
Oh, I just figured that you guys had some like mass genocide a month earlier. I figured that was the difference between the two.
Maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, well, don't worry. America took care of that, so you guys don't have to take the fall. Just saying.
I don't remember my Canadian history.
That's fine. Nobody does. Anyway.
They have a history.
I thought they were just formed like 10 years ago. That's fine.
I literally only remember a person by the name of Louis Riel, and he was a martyr. Anyway, Canadian history.
Yeah, there we go. So
That's all they've got.
If there's any other major points that you guys want to touch on with Final Fantasy 12 in terms of the rare spawns, the combat, the progression of the story?
I guess like big thing for me is just progressions through the game. I brought this up, I guess, a little earlier. It's just like it was really weird that they want you to try and do hunts at the beginning of the game, and then near the end of the game, it just was smooth sailing. Like pretty much after Sid battle, it's the game feels a lot more complete. Like actually, the whole getting to Arcadia. As soon as you step into Arcadia, it feels like a brand new game, and you're allowed to do what you want. And this is
really after having to collect those fucking
sandalwood.
Sandalwood.
Okay.
The chops is one of the stupider things.
Yeah,
in the game
ignoring the chops, because I thought that was a little silly. But what I am worried is like that with 15, because the 15 they're saying too that they want it to be very open and then linear afterwards. Because a lot of people are comparing it to 13 where it was linear and then open. And you know what? Compared to every other goddamn game that's out there too, every other Final Fantasy is linear then open. 12 is the only one that was open and then to linear as well too. So if 15 decides to actually do this, it's interesting how much advertising push they're putting behind this in terms of who are they actually appealing to? Who do they want to play this game?
Everyone.
They also said that it's not like we're going to the one of the big worries that people had is because they were saying open then linear. The way that they made it sound at first is that we were going to be stuck in the story at the end of the game.
No, I wasn't thinking that at all. Like I was thinking that there was going to be a lot more focused story. Like you can still go back and do other stuff, but they're basically throwing you into the world, which we've seen from that hour demo already. They throw you into the world, you do a couple hunts, and you can still go out and do your other stuff. But then you are focused down that same thing. The thing is, with 12, it took you 30 hours to get to that point.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an adventure, that's for certain. Because at 15, I don't know. I have a feeling the whole first day I play, I'm probably not going to get past the first region. With looking for dungeons, because that's the thing. You could find a dungeon that's like way above your level, and then you go in there, get your ass kicked, and you go, well, I guess I'll come back.
I should turn around.
Yeah. They showed that in the PAX West demo where he's like, yeah, I'm only level like 15. I can go in this dungeon. He's killing all the goblins, no problem. He gets to the last boss. Boss is level 37, and it's just like, yeah, that didn't pan out.
I did like the fact in 12 that there were like the random zones you'd walk into and then you just like, nope, I'm out. See you, bye. I wish that there was more of that.
Yeah, it happened a lot about the middle of the game when you're able to go to the Feywood and the Necro Hall. And I remember I walked into the Bomb King fight knowing I had to go through him to get to my Zodiac Spear or go the other way, which honestly, he was the better choice than going into the Necro Hall through the other path, which was...
Oh, that's my goof of this. Is I beat Bomb. I ended up going into Necro, got my spear, and then I didn't know that there was another way into the Necro Hall. So I ran through that entire wooded area, not knowing where I was going, and then I walked in. I'm like, oh, the zone is right there. That's a cool looking castle. I walk in Necro. I was like, you son of a bitch, game. And then I had to run all the way back.
My experience, yeah, where 5 of my party members died, and somehow my level 8 Vaughn made it out of the Necro Hall in one piece. And I was just like, okay, you're not imaginary for now. That was my running joke. I had a lot of running jokes for 12 the entire time. I always loved saying like, oh my God, we're going to get to see Bahamut. And he's an airship.
Yeah, I know. I was so confused when they're just like, yeah, they summon Bahamut. I'm like, holy shit, did they actually summon something that's cool?
It's a giant airship.
Did they end up using some cool like nethicite? Was this like Sid's like cool nethicite? Did he make another Esper? No, it was a goddamn airship. I'm like, this is...
And then just to shit on you even more, Vayne or the Undying has Mega Flare. Just to shit on you more. He's like, you're not Bahamut. That's not fair. It's just because the parts of the airship are in your body doesn't mean you get to use Mega Flare, dude. That's never how that's worked.
What a weird sequence that is with him.
I was talking about that earlier. It's like you fight him. Oh, actually, to take one step further. So I got raided fighting Gabranth for the final time. And that Gabranth 30-second fight is so silly because I got raided, and I was like, guys, we're at like the second last fight in the game. Let's see how it plans out. I get into the fight, and it's just melee attacks for 30 seconds. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm so sorry that I hyped this up for you guys.
Good old Gabranth.
Melee attacking each other at this point. This is so silly.
My chat really wanted me to do the Bosch versus Gabranth 1v1. And I was like, it's not going to change the outcome. Like, I'm level 92. Like, he's not going to win. And besides, even if he did, the other two come in. That was one thing I never really used, because when you see, like, Darkja on Zodiac, which has a chance to insta-kill, one of the common strategies is you push all your good party members out, and you bring in, like, a level 8 to eat the hit, and then you remove him and you put in the good party members again, and you just raise him, and every time Darkja's casting, you just pull this level 8 out and just sacrifice him to the mechanic. Bullying to the maximum. I didn't even do that with Vaughn. He saved me on my Zodiac Spear, and that's all he was good for, pretty much.
I ended up leveling everyone up equally, pretty much. I think my final party was like 37, 38, and then Fran had the spear, and she was like 44.
I'm higher than that right now.
Yeah. So there's a little trick. So in the Hen Mines, when you press a switch, a bunch of slimes fall from the ceiling. And there is a limit to how many slimes will fall if you kill them.
Unless you petrify them.
If you petrify them, however, the game doesn't know they died, and it's just not on the field anymore. I got to summon another one. And so if you set up a gambit where you just survive the entire encounter and just kill them only with petrifies, they'll just endlessly drop from the ceiling and you could just walk away from your game, pretty
That's
much.
kind of nifty.
I may have done that for just 4 of the 6 characters. I'm sorry, all 4 characters. All 4 characters in the game I did that for. And man, that was effective. That's not the only place you can do that either.
I can see why that'd be very, very effective.
Yeah, especially the license points. My chat got really mad because I deliberately left parts of my license board undone because I was like, I'm not sitting here and filling in my that's like asking me to sit here and fill in my sphere grid for the next hour.
Actually, that's an issue I have with the leveling system, and I don't know if it was fixed in Zodiac Age, but the whole point of like that extra like where you get the gambits, the increased melee, the increased shield block, that whole area is silly.
That whole area is the only area that matters on like the whole grid.
I know it is the only one that matters, but it is so silly because it promotes people to just go out and look at guides to how to level up fast versus just giving the player an enjoyable leveling experience. Like I can understand what they want for actual choice, but you know what else is also a choice? Giving someone a list of like 7 different options. Like, where would you like to put your stat points? Would you like to put your point into this? Would you like to put your point into that? No, instead they make the player go through an extra step of looking up the information so they're not going in blind. And it's because when you train your character to be better at something. You don't train your character and be like, oh, I guess I'm going to be good at this now. Like it doesn't make sense in a leveling progression at all.
That's I do not like. On top of the fact that it completely homogenizes the entire cast in the original game, I don't like that the license board's layout is just totally shit.
You pretty much fill in
to get to like you'll be going towards a piece of heavy armor, and to get there, it's like you have to pick up some robes and you have to pick up a staff on the way, and it's like, why is this stuff in the middle of the heavy armor equipment? Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah,
and then to boot, only one. I can't even call it a quadrant. Like an eighth of the board gives you direct stats. And after that, you pretty much only just want, I know I want this piece of equipment. And that's the only place you'll really spend your license points. At least that's what I did. I literally grabbed like Phoenix lore, Remedy lore, Potion lore. I grabbed all the max HP I could find.
Those were all the last things I got. All like the potion stuff, the last things I even picked up on that board.
I did the shield. I did shield for...
Shield was important.
Yeah. And then that was it. I grabbed those and I didn't give a shit about the board. I didn't even bother. By the time I beat the game, I only had 3 Eidolons taught to anybody.
I only had one.
I'm sorry, I've been playing 13, so I keep calling them Eidolons.
Yeah, I only got the one that was needed, and that was that.
I got Zolera to beat Zodiac and Belial, pretty much.
Nice.
So that's just like I already know these things are fucking worthless to me. So why waste my time with it?
The other things that IZGS does with those type of licenses is that it makes them like it's limited to your classes. It's not like every class gets 1 or 2 brawlers and 6 battle lores, 6 magic lores, etc. It's like your class will get 3 battle lores. This character will get 3 magic lores, and so on.
See, that makes more sense, and I'm so looking forward to playing Zodiac Age just for that alone. But I like what you're saying there earlier. It's like I do hope they make it so then you can change classes just in case. It's like, well, I want to try this now, or I want to try that.
Well, we'll find out. Another thing is the Niho Paloa accessory, which Slack already knows what that is. My chat just brought it up.
I literally kept on golden gauntlets the entire game.
So the Neolapoa is it a staff or is it an accessory?
It's an accessory.
It's an accessory. Would you like to educate Morag on how the Neolapoa works?
It reverses item effects.
Oh, I was told to use that, and then you use a remedy, and
use a remedy,
it's basically a bad breath. You
pretty much destroy almost any boss in the game later.
Yeah, Neolapoa is literally the bad breath accessory.
Yep.
You can use potions to damage. You can use Phoenix Downs to death. You can, it's insane.
I'm being told it's the FF brush up now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what my cat is doing.
Yeah,
on
where's
Slack
your cat?
stream.
We were gonna have a
Actually,
powwow.
your cat's got darker fur than mine does.
Good. Oh,
So, unless he just puts on a different outfit when he goes to your house, that's always possible.
Hey, it's a she.
Oh, then that's perfect. Mine's a guy. So now
Now it's
There you
time to do a cat meetup.
Get them together, right?
My
Yeah.
cat's gonna love your cat, and then we're just gonna sit here and watch. Oh god, that's
No.
just weird now.
That's super weird.
But it's like, wait,
It's so weird.
I love that I was like he, she, and you just do this. Like this is more like
Get 'em
touching
together,
tips than
right?
anything else. Or FF cats.
I mean, she's neutered or spayed. I don't remember which it is.
It's a
for
cat play date.
Yeah, it's a cat play date. It's all right. Aloha will be gentle.
But, okay, so like even like with that accessory, I putting mechanics like that in the game is cool, but to the point where you have to rely on it, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, once you get
that
the Neil
was-
Poe, it's over.
That's one of the other things. I'm not a big fan of the design of like. I really enjoy that there are so many bosses that are susceptible to multiple statuses. That's really great design. I like it in Final Fantasy V. I like it here. The problem here is that there's about 70 or 80 bosses throughout the game if you count all the hunts. And with the hunts, it's like you're just fighting another one and another one and another one and another one. And the only good way to know what they're vulnerable to, aside from throwing a Nihon remedy at them, is to look up a guide on it to find out just what the hell status you should be trying to inflict on each guy. I don't like it.
That's literally though like every single Final
But
Fantasy.
the reason that it's so annoying in this one is because like they are, for one, they're actually vulnerable to statuses, and there's so many bosses here.
I'd argue that's the same thing with FF5 that I didn't like. It's just like me going in and playing FF5 compared to you
Yeah.
guys. is I didn't know what the boss was susceptible to. I didn't know what the best party comp was, so I end up over leveling, and because I enjoyed the different classes, and I just went in and just face smashed all the boss instead of knowing their weaknesses. Like I could have went in and also looked up all the weaknesses for it too. The
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, I mean, that's what I did for my 5 playthrough.
Yeah, it's just like I wish that there was a somewhat easier way than an extreme mode of trial and error. And that's
Yeah.
where actually I kind of like 13 for that.
RPGs
fact.
enjoy. Yeah, well,
Like
they
13
do it
auto figures
decently
out.
here too.
Like 13 auto figures out those weaknesses for you and will give you all the information right then and there.
In the original version, in my version, there are gambits for if foe is fire weak, cast a fire spell at him.
Yeah.
Is that in your version?
Yeah, but
Okay. So it's got the elemental thing, which is nice, but for one, it takes up a ton of gambit slots to get all of
Yeah.
the weaknesses covered. And then on top of that, it's like I wish it were more intuitive, kind of like you're talking about, because at one point, the time that I started looking up the weaknesses, I was up against the Gill Snapper hunt. And the hunt is like, in the area, there's a bunch of other tortoise, adamantoises that you're going up against. And they're weak against fire. So you walk in there and you're like, well, they're weak against fire. The Gill Snapper's probably going to be weak against fire too. There should be that kind of expectation that, like, if you're paying attention, that kind of build up to be like, oh, hey, look, he's going to be weak against fire as well,
Yeah.
obviously, of course.
or
And
that,
you
or
go
if
up
it
against him, and he's not weak against fire. He takes half
the-
damage from it in like every element.
was it at least like the opposite that he was weak to that in ice instead.
No, I can't remember. Let me double check.
Because that would have been interesting. It's just like, oh, well, the babies are fired. Let's flip it around and make it ice for this. Yeah,
Yeah.
just give it a full thing. But what would also be really nice, too, because now that I'm thinking about this, like, two things. Number one, if they made us in the Gambit system, had it so then you had presets, like, say, let's like a stock of like 10 Gambit presets that you can say, okay, this person's going to be Gambit number 10.
Hmm.
In this list of pre-mades. You can actually swap back and forth real quick and easy without having to go and redo the entire list. That could have been really cool. But also now thinking about like the way that like a lot of people give the auto battle of 13 a lot of shit. They really do. And it's, I can see that it's justified, but at the same time I say then just don't use it. Go in, select all of them. And you know what? There's people in the chat that have done that, but they still say they don't like the game because it has that button. It has auto battle button right there, and it tempts them, and they don't want to use it, but it's their goddamn it. It's a shitty game because of it. Anyway,
So you know what's funny about that? I don't like 12 because of the Gambit system, but it makes it sends you to such great lengths to ask you to use it.
yeah.
Is the big problem.
Like
It's-
there was people in the chat that even playing through 12, they're like, yeah, I didn't turn on Gambit system once. I left it on active and I just played the game. I went and chose all my abilities going there. I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of goddamn micromanaging that I
So much micromanaging and so much time. That game
Yeah,
takes
and
forever as it is.
yeah, and the game doesn't like if you don't use gambits, you literally have two party members that do nothing. So you can't just say don't use gambits because the other two party members are just sitting there and you're gonna have to go, oh, okay, your command, then your command, then your command. And you're not it's not like the game is saying, hey, it's this person's turn. It's literally waiting for you to input a command. So it's a lot different in 12 when I complain about it because the game is designed around utilizing them. Whereas 13, it gives you auto battle, and most of the time it's effective enough. So much so to the point where taking the extra time to go and do individual commands is only useful in certain encounters. Like I can think of, if I know a boss is weak to something and I want to cast D-Shell, Deep Protectiva, but I know he's immune to poison, I don't want to use a Libra or a Libra, I can just go ahead and do that manually. It doesn't make the game easier, it's a different way. And on top of that, auto battle is the first option I'm given, and is again more than capable of handling the majority of the game.
Like, and I guess like we'll probably talk about this more later. Is at least with the auto battle, if there was one thing they could have did, one thing they could have put into the game, was just turning off abilities.
Yeah.
Let me turn off certain abilities. That's all I'd ask for in 13 if they were to remaster it or HD 4K it. If they were to 4K it, super HD it. But anyway, being able to turn off stuff, like at least to go and edit anyway.
So to go back to the Gill Snapper thing really quick, all the other turtles in the area are weak to fire. He takes 50% damage from fire. He absorbs ice, and then he's weak to lightning.
Yeah, it don't make sense.
Man, you know
exactly.
what my chat got really
if it just
upset
made
about?
sense, I'd be happy about that.
You know what my chat got really excited about? There's one thing we didn't talk about in Zodiac Edition. Are you familiar with our Lord and Savior Archeovis? It's an enemy that in International Zodiac Edition pretty much it becomes harder than the Yayazmat.
Becomes.
Because so when you encounter it in in the cave system where Adramlek is located. And in International Zodiac, they range anywhere from 81 to 99 as their level, and you can just get gang banged by them, basically.
Huh.
Yeah, it's something that when I went in there in the normal version of my chat, the members of my chat who didn't know I wasn't playing International, they were like, don't go in there, don't do it. And then they were like, oh, never mind, it's not International. And International, they're harder than Yayazmat is. And I'm just like, really?
Wait, what?
Archivus. I mean, the enemy exists. I've encountered the Archivus in my version. But in your version, apparently, if you go into that cave, yep, they're mini Iazmats.
Yeah.
And there's multiple of them, and they're all mini Iazmats, pretty much.
Sounds like fun.
If you want a fun little challenge, go into that cave, Slack, and just try fighting them.
That reminds me of like, what was it? When I first started it up, they're like, are you going to make all the enemies in the first zone level 99? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, you can force the T-Rex to eat all of the enemies and level them up.
And you level them up to 99. There's also the level 99 red chocobo with the 1 in like 256 chance of spawning, which is, again, another rare spawn that has a stupid chance of, and it's one of the only ways to get a certain item that you need. Not one of the only ways, but probably the least practical way. There's a lot of... they're telepathic, which means if you attack one, both attack. Oh. Well, that's fun. So they're linked. 2 or 3 level 99s. Fantastic. Omega's the only level 99 enemy up until Yayazmat doubles his level in the original version. So...
No thanks.
Yeah, level 148 Yayazmat's a bit of a problem.
I can believe it.
Yeah. He's a slight problem with fighting that guy. But anyway, overall, thoughts on Final Fantasy 12. I still had fun playing through it again, but goddamn, did I forget how much it drags on with things like the hunts and whatnot.
I'm really happy I sat down and got to fully play through it. And it makes me sad that, 10 year ago me missed out on the better half of the game.
I mean, I don't blame you either. That first half is brutal.
Well, even then, like everything before Sid fight is just actually that's not even really half. That was like a good 60%, 70% of the game, and it's just like all the story, like literally the last cutscene and before the last cutscene when it completely did feel like Star Wars. Them like flying through the air with Bahamut, and it's just like that felt completely like Star Wars. But it's just like that whole part, like him. You know what? The best scene in the entire game. Baller like going through and like flying around that ship, dodging everything, and it felt like there was 0 G's on the ship. Like he's just like, and on the ship they're like, yeah, man, we're just like cruising altitude right now, and like that whole scene was like awesome, and it just makes me sad that the game wasn't anything like that at all during the entire other thing. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. Oh well, it's over now.
I'm happy though. And I cannot wait to go back and
Yeah.
play it in Zodiac Age, to play it through another way, because my biggest gripe with the game still is the goddamn license for it. I still did not like it this time. And I'm happy that I didn't grind LP to a tremendous amount this time, where that's what I did as a kid, and I think that's what ultimately killed it for me.
A little bit, yeah, because you get too many options. There's too much stuff to set up gambits for on each character when you do that.
I wouldn't even really
Because
say
I mean, it's just boring. It's just like, well, I've got protect and shell and haste from every character. All three of them can be doing this when I swap them in. They can each, every single one of them can be doing everything.
That's how I beat Omega. I taught every character reverse, and all they did was keep reverse on themselves. So every time he autoed, and then if he berserked somebody, they would just Phoenix down him when he eventually died because he couldn't reverse the status anymore. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it ends up going after a while when it comes to some of those super bosses. Next week, we'll be talking about 13. And now I want to point out that 13 is probably the game we've referenced the most when talking about the previous Final Fantasy games.
It's 13's such one of those weird games where they brought in so many cool new things. And I use the word cool for it, but people shit all over it still. Anyway.
We'll talk about why people shit all over it, though, next week. Because having just played through it again, I was much less pleased with my second playthrough than I was in my first playthrough of
Really?
Final Fantasy 13. I was hoping I would like it better. I was absolutely more frustrated with it.
FF9 for me, yeah, same way.
That was how I felt with 3 the second time through. Same deal. 3, I thought I liked 3 a lot more the first time than I did the second time.
I'm still going to say 3 is so far probably the hardest Final Fantasy game.
And Zodiac 12 is one of the easiest. Will be one of the easiest when Zodiac Age comes out if you can actually change jobs. You never have to worry about locking yourself down again.
Slack, when you play 13, skip all the fights.
I was thinking about doing it. I don't know.
It's a lot of fun. It is
I was actually paying attention to your play. Did you end up beating Bartandalus last night?
Yeah, I know I beat him.
Oh, actually, yeah, I was there when you did it, and that's about when I left.
Bartandalus can go suck a dick.
No, that fight was so much fun on low CP. Way more fun than I expected.
Because what was funny about it is that I was watching you do that. You only shaved off by skipping all those other fights. I think you shaved off like 5-6 hours of playtime.
Oh, if not more.
Yeah.
If not more.
The only place I'd stop to grind is Chapter 8. We'll talk about that next week.
I was tempted to. Like, that's on the airship, right?
No, I'm sorry. Chapter 7 when you're in Hope's home. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, Chapter 8. Yeah,
when you're...
Hope's home and Chapter 8 are both the spots because they drop incentive chips, which sell for a lot of gil.
Yeah, no, because last night I was going to stop on the ship before the double flying fight when you get everyone so that I could farm up all those guys. Because, like, I remember, like, that was the first time that it was, like, good for farming because of incentive chips and for mods to go and upgrade your weapons and whatnot.
That's the only reason why you farm. That's why farming. The only reason why farming on those chapters is worth it so much is literally for the gil influx to upgrade everything.
Yeah.
No other fucking reason. But it's just so good. The amount of like you end up with like 30% physical damage reduction on one item and like plus 800 health on another item, and things go really really well from that point on.
Yeah. Anyway,
I've already finished 13. Yeah, I finished 13 already.
Are you gonna go 13 too?
Let's see. I have Vegas this week for the 14 Fan Festival. Immediately following that, I need to follow up that hype with more 14. And then World of Final Fantasy comes out a week later. So probably not going to get the 13-2, which I'm a little disappointed about. 13-2, I still feel like improves 13 pretty much in almost every way. And it's actually I don't talk trash about 13-2 other than it being a short game because it was easily the shortest New Age Final Fantasy I've played. I platinumed it with no guide at 22 hours. So it was pretty disappointingly just short. And then Lightning Returns combat, hate everything else. So I wouldn't mind replaying Lightning Returns just because I enjoyed the shit out of the combat.
I'm tempted to and not do, like, I don't want to try and 100% it because I missed it by one quest last time and I was really sad.
That's why I won't play 10-2 anymore. I missed it by one time talking to Kamari.
I missed it. I missed the whistle. I missed the whistle.
That's rough. That's not good. All right, but luckily we'll get to talk about that next Monday. Final Fantasy 13. If we have anything to add briefly to 13-2 Lightning Returns, even if we don't get to play it before then, we should probably, because most of us probably have. I feel like it's fair to lug all 3 of those in. It's not like After Years, or it's not like Crisis Core and shit where we talked about the previous Final Fantasies. Like, these all are pretty much one entity.
Yeah.
They were designed as such. So, like, Final Fantasy 13 hadn't even been out. I just spit all over my microphone. It's the Italian in me. Yeah, because 13 hadn't even been out a year, and they had already like greenlit the next 2 games. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to actually talk about that next week. It's gonna be good stuff.
Yep. But on that note, we're gonna wrap things up for this week. I actually have to render the Final Fantasy X episode. Oops. And then get that and this out before the end of the week because of being in Vegas. So, yeah, that's gonna be rough. I'm not gambling, by the way. I don't gamble.
Good. Well, no, you gotta at least go to the penny slots with $1.
No.
Penny slots with $1.
No, I will be there for hours. Hours I don't have. So no, not doing it. So thank you everyone for joining us for this talk about Final Fantasy 12. It was a little bit all over the place, but so is Final Fantasy 12 story. So
Hey!
Final Fantasy 12 and the adventures of, we didn't even get to talk about Revenant Wings, and all I'll say real quick before that is they make Vaughn a character in Revenant Wings, like a real
I'd like to get
developed
around to
character.
playing that one sometime.
A developed character in Revenant Wings to some degree.
And a good character design where he's not walking around pretending he's Aladdin.
And has fake abs, which they don't fix in Zodiac Age. He still has fake abs in Zodiac Age, by the way. We've already seen this. We've already seen the video of it. But anyway, thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Would my twin brother or Morag like to wrap us up first?
I'm Mr. Happy 1229. Just 2 days later. Come check me out. I'm still playing through Final Fantasy 12. I'm trying to do a lot of the bonus content. I may have to give up on that and move over to 13. Unfortunately, some problems last week caused me to miss a lot of streaming time. So I'm even further behind than I thought I would be right now. But for the time being, I'm still playing the IZGS. So if you liked some of what you heard about the game today and you want to come bother me about it and ask questions, I'm going to be doing that real soon here.
All right, Morag.
My name is tehMorag. I'm sick
Morag.
in the head as well too. Currently playing through Final Fantasy 13. Barthendalus 1 is down with like 90% of the mobs skipped, which has been a lot of fun so far. We hit our sub goal for Chrono Trigger a marathon, so that's going to be happening, and we're currently trying to get a Chrono Cross playthrough right now.
What?
No!
What are you doing?
What is she doing?
Just barge in on the show.
At least tell her that we love her.
No,
No, she's gone now.
she's gone now. I'm not gonna bring her back. What are you talking about? Tell her later. Just barge in
Anyway,
on the
come
show.
check me out at twitch.tv/tehMorag or MMOR.ag/live.
Yeah.
That's right. The URL MMOR.ag actually go to my website.
I should get a website at some point. Anyway,
MMOR.ag. It's excellent.
MOR.ag. Yeah, you and I had that discussion when we were setting up Count of Cast, I remember. And then I'm also Mr. Happy, but this time 1227, also known as Slackaholicus. You could find me, Mr. Happy 127, everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, things. I was downstairs. We live in an apartment. It means you were outside.
Doing the laundry. Laundry room's downstairs.
No, that's what she's doing. She's doing laundry right now. Anyway, and yeah, I've finished 1 through 13. I'm pretty much, and I'm going to Vegas this week for the Final Fantasy 14 Fan Festival, where the expansion announcement is going to happen. I'm not going to say it's likely. It's gonna
I
happen.
made a little bit of progress on my pre-Heavensward content.
Yeah,
I'm up to the part where I have to go fight Shiva now.
that's patch 2.4.
I know, I'm getting there. Slowly.
And Morag, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, when we're doing F11.
I don't know. When do you want to do Final Fantasy 11?
When are we going to do
It
it?
has to be after Vegas, obviously.
Well, I know it's going to do after Vegas. We have
But
a
it should-
month and a half to do it.
Well, no, World of Final Fantasy comes out October 25th, so...
Well, okay, we have... Well, we can... That's still a month after that. Okay, 3 weeks after that.
There's also Pokemon.
You're making this real difficult. You know? It's
I'm
almost like
saying we have between the
in here.
16th and the 25th is what I'm saying. We have between the 16th and the 25th is what I'm saying. And then between like the November 1st and the 19th. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we should pick one of those ranges of days because it's either that or Crystal Chronicles.
Yeah, okay. I was actually trying to get Crystal Chronicles working over net. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
There's too
Well,
many
luckily,
things to
Final
do.
Fantasy 11 comes with built-in internet, so
Yeah.
that's one way of looking at. I don't know if you want to make a commitment to this right now or not.
Oh no, I do. I want to do F11. I want to play again. And I was actually talking to one of my friends last night, finding out some of the cool little changes in it. I didn't know you could summon NPCs to level you
Yeah, they're
up.
trust NPCs. Literally, there's no point in playing with other people.
Yeah, no, it's like shit.
So
You
that's
just
why I was
summon
like,
them,
you guys
you
want to play
summon
together? There's no point in doing that anymore. Trust NPCs render that completely pointless to
See,
play with
what
other
it is,
people.
what it is then is that we have three separate parties trying to kill the same thing.
But it's still a claim system, man. You can't do that.
Well, we just go to a really popular area where it's just pop, pop,
No
pop.
area is popular anymore. That fucking game is a ghost land. All these things you're saying don't apply to this game anymore. There's mounts now, too.
There's mounts at 11?
Yeah, you can get like raptor mounts and crab mounts and Fenrir mounts.
There's
And
more than just chocobos now? Oh,
yeah, you can summon them out in the world. You have to do a stupid fucking mini game with a raptor before you can unlock it. But
A
that
stupid
really
mini game in 11? Oh no, that
can-
never
you have to take a raptor and you have to complete a course without running out of stamina. And the course is to run through the Battaglia Downs and hit.
Oh god, I'm having chocobo flashbacks in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you fail, you just hit retry and you got to do it all over again. It's great.
Slack, how long did that take you?
About 20 minutes per minigame.
Man,
balloon
you
one,
don't
it was about
wanna-
20 minutes,
man,
and
you want me to
then
tell you about my experience with that
The
minigame?
spiral thing was like another 20 or 30.
I may have only taken about 6 minutes to do everything, including the 0-0.
I was super close a few times. The worst part about that, the controls for that section are so stupid.
Yeah,
bad.
they're awful.
It's look, my biggest problem is the auto-moving chocobo when you go near the invisible edge. You go
Yeah.
towards the edge.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, I want to be over here.
Yeah.
And you're like, but there's
All
a
right,
balloon.
we gotta make, if we're gonna do this 11 thing, we have to make a commitment now.
I'm down. Choose a date. I'm there. Choose a date, Happy.
Yeah, fine. Slack.
Right now.
Are
I'm
there
in.
any days
Whatever.
that don't work for you?
I think all of those should be fine.
All
Yeah.
right. So I come back from Vegas 16th. I'm doing a normal stream that day because it's after the 14 announcement, so I want to play 14. Let's go with Friday the 21st.
Friday the 21st. I can't do the Friday.
Fucking hate you so much right now.
I'm so sorry. Out of like the third Friday of a month, I can't. That's the only day I cannot do anything. Is the third Friday of a month,
Okay. So
and that was
then-
the oldest. You
so
nailed
what
the
you're telling
one
me
day.
is Saturday.
I could do a Saturday easily. Yeah.
Saturday the 22nd. Don't you fucking tell me you can't do that.
No,
Slack.
I could do the
I'm looking at
26th.
Third
Slack.
Saturday of every month, I'm unavailable.
Joke's on you. That's the fourth Saturday. Ha!
Shit! Oh man, I was worried about that. I almost checked first. I was like,
Joke's
nah, I'll
on
be
you because
fine.
November 1st was a fucking. I'm sorry, October 1st was a fucking Saturday. So that's
Damn it.
There's 5 Saturdays in this month. 1, 8, 15, 22, 29.
I wrecked my own joke by not paying attention.
Oh, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't do Saturday. I have an appointment.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, technically, I could do it after the appointment because I'm going to get my passport. Like, I don't know how long that appointment is. Technically, I could do it that day. It would just be later. I could do Saturday night. Yeah, I could do Saturday night. It's still fine. I just do it after the appointment. I'm done.
How long are we hoping to play for?
I don't know. How long are you hoping to play for?
I don't know. The last time I played FF8, it was like
This is not 8. This is 11.
11. Last time
It
I
says
played F11,
was
I
for
was
8
in a
hours.
party. I was in a party for like 8 hours. So I'm down for whatever.
All right. Saturday night. Saturday night.
Wasn't there a song Saturday night?
Saturday, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something
There's
like
also
What
SNL.
time-ish? Do you know?
I don't remember when my appointment is. So, well, here's the thing. I was going to set the appointment, and then Mel did it because I was busy because of patch 3.4's launch. So she's in the chat right now, so if she could just quickly tell me when my appointment is, that would be useful. That would be useful. I don't know why. She could also just walk in here again and tell me. That would be just
That would
as
also
effective.
work. Yes.
That would also be effective. Busy. Yeah, busy. I was fucking raiding. and making videos. I was busy.
Working.
Yeah, I was working for 25 years. I didn't have to travel before 25 years. I just started traveling 2 years ago.
Yeah, I still need to get a passport pretty bad.
And to be fair, you can't say 25 years to get a passport. Was I going to go at like 1 year old and go get my fucking passport?
Of course you were.
Passports, they're pretty. It has like the coat of arms and everything on it.
Fucking Canada. I was busy stealing college food and shit. Okay.
I almost opened it up and
That
just
still doesn't help answer my question. I still need to know when my appointment is on Saturday so I can give these gentlemen a time and let them go on with their lives. I want to make this commitment on Count Upcast before we wrap things up because
so that we're held accountable.
yeah, so that we're held accountable. I'm just doing this this afternoon Pacific. All right, let's do 1 p.m. Pacific.
done.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Pacific.
On the
So our
22nd.
normal count
On
Upcast.
October 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific.
Be there.
Perfect. It's gonna be the Final Fantasy 11. I don't know.
Cast.
Cast. Need to come up with a catchy name for it.
And then we will do a count upcast for that after that experience.
The return to what was that place? Vanadiel?
Deal.
Return to Vanadil, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so it's funny because that's also the next week is the week we don't know which count upcast we're doing. So technically an 11 count upcast is an effective thing to do the week after.
It works.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So it works.
I'm
There you
being
go.
told Happy is so going to be late.
No. No. That's no. I won't
It's okay. We always say that the Count of Cast is going to
I
start.
already have a level 99 character, so I'll just fucking transfer him if I'm late. All right.
Oh, what server? I'm on Odin.
I
was on Lakshmi.
I'm on Shiva. I wanted to make a new character.
Yeah, I was gonna do a new character.
Yeah.
Okay, new character.
New character. That's the best way. That's the best way to experience Final Fantasy 11. Yeah. See, my appointment's at 9 a.m. I'll be fine. It's an hour drive there, an hour drive back, an hour there. So it's 12 hours. There you go. 3 hours.
An
12
hour at a
hours.
passport office.
It won't be 2 hours.
Make it 3.
It's an appointment. They're
No,
expecting me.
It's
I'm
the
not.
government.
I'm not. You're the government.
Oh, am I now?
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Build a wall around you. There we go.
Canada's going to have to build a wall to keep all the American immigrants.
Canadians. This is how you almost said keep all the Canadians out.
And we're going to make U.S. pay for it.
There you go. All right. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for Count Upcast. I'm going to let these fine
I'm
gentlemen
done.
go on with their lives. We will see you next week for the Final Fantasy 13 Count Upcast, and be sure to enjoy these fine gentlemen's Final Fantasy 12 and 13 streams. Anyway, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. And until then, take care.
Farewell.
Fare thee well.